Hello and welcome to Bergkamp Wonderland. My name's Jason and I'll be your host for tonight. Tonight I'm joined by an illustrious panel and Danny the GFP. Hello, Danny.
Is that or I'm a part of the illustrious panel?
And.
Oh, I'm separate. I'm in a corner again.
Yeah, you are.
I've been stigmatised.
I'm not being funny, okay? You are not a git, so there you go.
And you're in such a good mood.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm all sunshine and light, aren't I?
Oh, Jesus. You're going to make Steve look like a reasoned human being after last week. You're not going to go full Neuer on us, are you?
To be fair, today I could make Trump look like a reasoned human being, okay?
Oh, no.
Yeah. Never mind. Well, yeah, there you go. That's the way the cookie crumbles. You had a good week, pal?
I haven't lost any more teeth, so that's always a plus.
Winner chicken dinner.
No, I've shouted at the offspring, go and stay at your bloody mother's. I'm sick of you. She's been here every night for 3 months. My mother lives on the other side of the road because she won't clean up after herself. So I've told her to bugger off and stay at her mum's, and she told me to piss off.
Nice.
There you go. Actually, she might use the F word, not the P word.
In all fairness, I think you deserve it at times. If I was her right now, I'd be going and switching on all the empty plug sockets. I'd be just to piss you off.
Don't do that.
Yeah, if any of the listeners really want to annoy Danny, please send him pictures of empty plug sockets switched on. It will really do his head in.
The worst one I've ever seen of that. Dom knows the worst one because Dom bloody sent me it. It was a pack of wrapped up fig biscuits, and one of them, they're all pointing north to south, and one of them was pointing east to west. I can't understand looking at that picture. And it's a sealed bag. How is that even possible? That's witchcraft.
No, it's not.
That's not.
No, it's not. Right, okay. Talking to Trump and the US. We're also joined by the colonial canon himself. It's Shredder!
Cheers, fellas. Cheers. I have my Jameson in front of me, my nice Irish whiskey to wash the tears away from yesterday. So,
to be fair, mate,
I'm sure we'll get onto that.
If you want to wash the tears away from yesterday, you need to start drinking fucking meths.
The gateway. It's a great gateway drug, I hear.
Gateway. Well, to be fair, okay. And if you snort it, it's really interesting. See what happens then. You right, pal?
Yeah. Other than that, it's nice here, except for the weather here. Can't decide whether it wants to be 20°C or like 6°C from one day to another. So the air conditioning doesn't know what to do in that place. But yeah, other than that, it's going well.
How's the bachelor pad?
It's good. It's very bachelor and very
Sweet.
patty.
You taking a blue light to it yet?
Thank God, no. I have christened it already a couple of times. So.
Oh, too much information. Oh God, yeah, it is. You can hear him laughing now. Our next guest is a man of many words and mostly wonderful ones at that. It's Dave, Goonaholic. Hey Dave, how you doing, pal?
I'm doing all right, thanks, Jace. I'm glad. I was thinking earlier, we've had 24 hours to kind of digest it, get over it, and I felt for the guys doing the radio show last night because I certainly couldn't have done that. I'm in a completely different place now, though. Had a nice bowl of pasta tonight, half a glass of red wine. I'm chilled.
In office, I listened to the radio show earlier on, and I thought the guys did a good job, but as for feeling sorry for them, fuck them. Ellis is a fucking disgrace. I'm not being funny. What the fuck is carrying his fucking internet in Norwich? 2 cans with a piece of string? Fuck's sakes.
More than likely.
Yeah. No, to be, I was taking the mickey telling them, you've got to say this, which they didn't. But Drew said, why don't you come on? No way. No way in hell. No. And they had some interloper as well, some twat with a beard.
He just described half our audience.
No, let's not go there. How was it right in the match review, mate?
Oh, don't. I've kind of got in the habit now for away games. I do it as it occurs, so you can kind of see where my mood went up, down, down, disappeared off the scale. At the final whistle, I'd already written the last bit of the well, I don't know what you'd call it really, but it was hit the button, send it, and hope that people understand the what was going on while I was typing that out. I think most people do. Wasn't a great one.
No, I can imagine. But there you go. Good to have you on board, Sunshine. And next, last but not least, here he is, our boy wonder from down under. It's Dom Nusk. How are you, pal?
Oh, I'm not too bad. As Dave said, we've had 24 hours to digest what happened, but I've still well and truly got some indigestion going on.
Indigestion, Jesus Christ!
It didn't digest well. I don't know what was going on yesterday, but it wasn't very enjoyable, was it?
Well, let's be honest. We had a post-mortem after the match, and I think we covered every sort of part of Arsenal football last night, and I still went to bed fucking angry. I don't know how you felt at that time. Mind you, it was middle of the day for you, wasn't it? So you were all right, but
I had a nap. It was lovely.
You're a twat. You're such a twat. I couldn't sleep. I was so upset last night. I couldn't sleep. Okay, I was fuming. Never mind. Well, good to have you on board, Sunshine. How's the day been? Okay.
Not too bad so far. Just finished work for the morning, so thought I'd pop on and get angry for about an hour and a half.
Lovely. Oh, sweet. Let's do it. Okay. Right. Let's get straight into it then, guys. To kick this podcast off, we had a match on Saturday against Hull. Was it Saturday or was it Sunday?
Saturday.
Thank you.
Sunday. Oh, God. I don't know.
I don't know.
I was there.
Saturday. You were there. I had to wake up for it. I wish I hadn't bloody bothered.
It was Saturday.
Seriously,
12:30.
Last night has fucked me right up. I don't know what I'm doing. In any case, as you were there, Mr. Holick, tell our lovely listeners about it all. Go on.
Well, it was a bit like the curate's egg, I think I wrote afterwards. It was excellent in parts, particularly as I had a few quid on us to win 2-0, and somehow we managed to achieve it. But it was certainly a day of ups and downs, and you could see why Hull have had such a good record. They were unbeaten in 4 before they came to play us. They'd beaten Liverpool, drawn with Manchester United. And they were a lot better than the whole side we've seen in recent seasons. He seems to have gone well organised. We started well enough, but we didn't really create anything until I think it was about midway through the half when Alexis danced around onto his left side and hooked one back at the near post and just missed it by a gnat's knacker. And that was kind of indicative of where we'd been early doors. And that woke Hull up as well. And they started playing very well. Czech had to make a couple of smart saves from them. But eventually we got the breakthrough that we needed. And it was, I think it was just over 10 minutes before half time. And Iwobi and Ozil combined on the right flank and set up Kieran Gibbs. His drive was saved by Jakupovic, and it flew in a split second against Alexis Sanchez's forearm and over the line. And quite rightly, Mark Clattenburg, although later I understand he did go and apologise to Hull at half-time for awarding the goal and not giving the handball, he was actually right. There's no way that Alexis could have got out of the way of it. And so having settled down, we've had a few dodgy first halves lately, haven't we? So we're expecting the second half we'd capitalise on that 1-0. But in fact, far from that, we let Hull get into the game rather more than we were expecting. And it was only because they didn't really have a decent finisher that they didn't manage to get themselves level. There was a little bit of controversy midway through the half when Theo Walcott got into an argument with, was it Maguire, the big centre-half?
Yeah.
Who's about a foot taller than, foot wider than him. Within seconds, Tom Hundredstone came over to join him and was laughing in Theo's face. And I wonder if it's indicative of the spirit at the moment. It was probably about 5, 6, 7 seconds before Coquelin, who was about 40 yards away, suddenly realised we need to support him here and went sprinting across. And nobody else really made any move. By the time he got there, it had kind of all calmed down. But Theo you could see he was really upset. And you just wondered afterwards why we didn't have the ball. You wouldn't have dared to have done that in the days when we had Vieira and Tony Adams.
No.
So maybe we'll touch on that a little bit later when we start talking about what happened last night. But at the end, we got lucky right in the death in the added on time when we got Lucas was at the far post to get onto an Alexis cross, and his header was Klukas, very confusingly, who stuck out an arm and stopped it from going in. And Alexis, who hit not the world's greatest penalty, but thankfully the keeper dived over it, sort of thing. So that was what clinched me a nice few bob, and I was rather pleased. And it was nice to not play that well and yet win after the results we'd had at Chelsea and Everton.
It is, isn't it? I mean, to be fair, Hull, I thought they played a lot better than I expected them to. The big question, Dave, I want to ask you this. You know, Harry Maguire's a bit bigger than Theo Walcott, but should Theo have stuck the head on the fucker?
He'd have had to jump up to do it. But yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I think
he was mad enough as well.
Yeah.
Maguire had sort of hauled him down, and he hadn't got the free kick, and I think that upset him. And
I think there were words afterwards, weren't there, as well? I was quite proud of Theo at that point. I just thought, well, stick the head in him. You know,
it was very disappointing that nobody but Coughlin reacted.
Yeah. Unfortunately, well, we'll come on to that later. I think, you know, there needs to be a chat about that. Shreds, how did you enjoy the game? Did you think Hull really posed us problems, or do you think we caused those problems for ourselves?
I probably think a mixture of both. I think they're still a hungry team. They actually have really good form coming into that match compared to sort of what we were on, and so they were a dangerous side, at least their mentality, because they, like I said, coming in on form. It's going to be a big game. Everybody wants to get up for the Arsenal. So, but yeah, I thought actually, you know, it wasn't a spectacular performance, but we did what we needed to do when we were professional about it. I agree with Dave. One of the things about Sanchez is his penalty that he took last night, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, was the exact same penalty he took on Saturday. And it's the very similar penalty that he's had saved before. And I don't know if he realizes that he's got like a decent amount of goal to work with, it just not that sort of bottom left corner area to go after. So it's worrying to see that. Luckily against Hull, we got away with it. But yeah, we seem to be a little bit more up for that. And I think, you know, I don't think, like I said, any in particular player had a really stellar performance, but I think it was just a good sort of solid professional performance that we went out there. We beat a team that we should beat and got the points that we needed to. And, luckily some of those around us drop points as well. So it was good at the time to start the weekend off that way, but it wasn't a spectacular. It's not a game that you're going to really remember for a whole lot, other than maybe the handball shouts. But I think it was one of those performances that in the past we've not had against teams like Hull, and it was good to see us sort of get over that hump, and even in the face of a little bit of adversity. But yeah, really pleased with the 3 points and hanging in there sort of in the league in that top 4 spot.
Yeah, I thought Ox played well on the day. To be fair, I thought he was a bit of a shining light. I
wouldn't say he was spectacular, but I definitely think that he put in a good shift. I wouldn't. It's not anything to write home about, though. I think
that's fair comments. Yeah.
I just think, you know, everybody's sort of love affair with him is it may be due to our lack of other options at the moment. And while I do think he had a really good performance, I'm still not completely ready to just toss him in there as a regular partnership with somebody yet. We've seen that happen in the past, and where he's had good games against Crystal Palace a couple years ago, and then he's had games where he's just gone completely missing, can't find his positioning on the field to break up attacks or break up opposition attacks, and then he can't place a pass. So it's good that he's had a couple of good performances in that position. But before we crown him the next the next great center mid at Arsenal, let's get some consistency at that position out of him first.
Okay, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Dom, as Dave mentioned, there's a couple of handballs in the game. Maybe we're fortunate with the Alexis one, but I think it's very difficult for him to get the way there. What's your take on it all? Well, did you enjoy the performance, or did it concern you? Obviously, with the following fixture coming up.
I don't think I was concerned from the performance, so to speak, but I do think that we're a very easy team to play against. I think that we make it very easy for teams recently to get out our defence a little bit. And whether it's a midfield issue, whether it's a defensive issue, whether it's a whole team defensive issue, which I'm sure we'll come on to definitely against the Bayern game. But the ease at which some of these sides that don't necessarily have the most talented players in the world can just walk down the field at our stadium and create problems is a little concerning at times. And I know that Hull have been in good form, and I know that they've had some good results lately. But I just think that we should be focusing on being a little tighter overall. And especially when you're struggling at the other end to score, it gets to the point where, like I said, I wasn't necessarily worried, but Dave said if they had a striker that was able to put the ball in the back of the net, or that had that little bit of extra quality in the final third, I think they would have easily scored a goal or two. And then if you come up against a team that does have a forward that's in a little bit of form, well, we saw what happened against Bournemouth. So, I mean, I'm just a little bit perplexed about the whole team situation at the moment.
Yeah. No, I don't think you're alone. Dan, it's 3 points. We trundle on. It's getting a win after the Chelsea game. How did you feel about the whole thing? Were you happy with it? Were you disappointed with the performance? What did you make of it?
It was a bloody horrible game that we managed to save with a couple of goals, but a fantastic performance by Sanchez. But it's just a horrible game. And Ozil gone missing yet again. It used to be that it was only the big games he'd go missing, and then it'd be he had a long break, and then he'd come back, and then he had a decent game against Ludogorets, which will probably go down as one of my favourite games that he's played for us. And then now he's going missing against the likes of against Hull, which is ridiculous. I know it being probably one of our 2-star players that he is going to get more man-marked and more pressure put on him, and people are going to try and cut him down and make sure that he can't do what he needs to do. But Sanchez got a 9.2 rating on Opta. Ozil got a 6.4. But I woke up I wish they'd stopped doing games at 12:30 kickoff, because that's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous to get to, and it's ridiculous to wake up to for me, because I hate it. I don't usually go to sleep till about 7 in the morning. So then I watched it, and it was horrible. I think I actually fell asleep at one point. It was that bad. It was a terrible, terrible game, but we won it. And like I always say, it's the Rothmans Football Yearbooks are going to say 2-0, Arsenal, clean sheet, 2 goals for Sanchez, top goal scorer in the Premier League. But it was interesting that this week has been a week of controversy when it comes to the penalties. Like Klassenberg has just gone off to Saudi Arabia now. He's quit the Premier League. He's only 41 years old. He's gone there to be the head of refereeing. He will still manage it and referee a few games while he's over there. But it's was he the manager? Was he the referee during this game?
He was.
And he apologised to the team at the other team. Oh yes, is it here? He apologised to the other team at half time. But that's why it's called handball, not ball hand. Nothing that he could have done there. I mean, the arm, in the position that arm was in, he couldn't have got any further back, could it? I mean, unless it's like he was holding a glove puppet. It wasn't his fault, and so that's a really sticky situation. And I always think of penalties like that. If they scored against Arsenal like that, what would I be saying? And my honest opinion on that would be, well, he didn't do it on purpose. It wouldn't have gone in. I know, like, if a ball goes off of another player for an own goal, would the ball have gone in without the opposition player touching it from the original shot from like an Arsenal player? Then that's easy to see. But this one, that is a rule I've never heard before. It's not against the rule to handball. It's against the fair play, or I can't remember the terminology they used for it. But that is such a rare occurrence, and people are going mad about it and saying we cheated. That's the only time I've ever known that to happen, where he's got his arm fully extended backwards, and it just comes off the other player, hits him in the hand, and goes in. So that was the most interesting point of the game. I thought Iwobi was rubbish as usual. Thought Coquelin wasn't too bad. It's nice to see the Ox playing in central midfield, which is like, we keep bringing it up, but that's what his dad says that's going to be his best position. I thought he looked good. He's at least he's making runs forward.
You thought Coquelin wasn't too bad?
Well, it depends on what you can ask him, because he was the who am I getting feedback? It's you again. We need to get you a new headset. Because the problem with Coquelin all season has been, with him and Xhaka playing in the middle, it was Xhaka hold back, Coquelin go forward and fuck it up. But in this game, it really wasn't. It was the Ox. You're the one there. You're doing the Santi role, getting the ball passing around, going forward, and Coquelin was hanging back a bit. I mean, he got an Opta rating of 7.7, which is, considering the form that he's been in lately and last night and recently, that's not too bad. I think he had a half decent game for the job that he's meant to do. I mean, I'm like you. I don't hate Coquelin no matter what he does. I think he played all right.
Fair enough. I just saw them dominate us a bit in midfield again. But is that
happens all the time, though, doesn't it? But yeah, like you were saying, I loved Theo standing up to them. Brilliant.
Hull had more possession than us. I know we got a makeshift.
51-49.
Yeah, we got an actual makeshift midfield. He's made a decent amount of passes in the game, to be fair to the boy. He's actually created 2 chances in that game. So yeah, no. I just don't see him as a good footballer. So
no, it depends on what you ask him to do. He's a very limited footballer. If you ask him to go forward,
limited's being kind.
Yeah, but it's like Czech. Czech's a limited footballer. He can only play in goal. There's lots of players that don't have the ability to do anything other than what they were there for. He came into Arsenal. He made his name from being a tough tackling midfielder, where you're going to go in there, grind your teeth, grit your teeth, and get it done. And when you ask him to do anything other than that, he can't do it. So it's the manager's fault for constantly asking him to go and do stuff that he's not capable of doing.
I'm sorry, mate. You're tough tackling. Ask Eden Hazard about it. In any case, Shreds.
Oh, he's shit.
Shreds. You've got a point and a Wobie. Come in.
Yeah, young player, still developing and everything. But look at even Ox, somebody like that. Look at Welbeck, and I specifically want to point out. Look at Lucas. When they're in the match, when they have the ball at their feet versus when Iwobi has the ball at his feet, his movement is so inefficient and labored on when he's actually on the ball that's why he's getting taken off. His arms are flailing. It's taking energy away from him. When you look at a guy like Perez and see how little his upper body moves when he has the ball at his feet. And I think that's one of the issues he's running into when he is giving away possession like that. It's just he's sort of all over the place when he has the ball and arms flailing. He's having to, he just doesn't have great control of his body. And hopefully that's something he can work out, or he's not going to be the player we all expect him to become, which I think that's the whole reason why Wenger is continuing to play him, is because he knows that there's potential there. But his movement on the ball is extremely inefficient for this level. And if he doesn't get that sort of under control, when your movement's like that, it takes extra energy out of you. And I know Steve has come on the podcast many times this season and complained about, being pulled off, him being the first one off, usually around like 55 to the 60-minute mark. And I know Dom, and I 100% agree with this, Dom, that a young player is still developing his lungs and his stamina. But I think his inefficiency in movement is hurting his actual minutes on the pitch, because he's having to control parts of his body that don't even need to be moving, which takes energy and it takes your stamina away. So I think one of his real issues is just when he has the ball at his feet, he's got to settle and calm his body. Maybe his mind is calm, but his body does not look calm at all. And I think that's why you see him. So the ball just gets taken off his feet so easy. Tries to dribble around or through people, and it's just right there because he's trying to. He goes really big with his arms, and his legs will sort of go out wide as well, and has to come back in. And by the time he gets himself compact enough to go through somebody, the ball's already away from his feet. And I think that's one of the big issues right now that we're seeing with him is he loses the ball, especially around the midfield area, and it takes him a little while to recover because his body. Just watch, his body's flailing. he's flailing at times, and it's one of those things that takes your body just a second to recover, and so he's slower getting back, and that's probably one of the issues leaving like Nacho or Gibbs now exposed back there, and he needs to become more efficient with his movement, and maybe Dom might have something on this as well. I don't know if he's seeing the same thing, but just something that I've continued to watch that is a worry is his inefficiency on the ball with his body.
To be fair, mate, I'm more concerned about his decision making at times, but I don't disagree with you. Right, okay, that's Hull, to be honest with you, boys. It was 3 points. There you go, done.
People aren't listening to this for the Hull. What we think about Hull, are they?
I really, I half of me wanted to cut shreds off there. I couldn't give a shit about Hull anymore.
We can't avoid the big one now, can we?
Right, okay, here we go. Last night it was Champions League. It was Bayern Munich again. This time we get the away tie first to bring them back, get a result out in Munich and bring them back and finish them off with the Emirates. And we got humped. After a pretty decent first half, we have a collapse at half-time of epic proportions just after half-time. Shreds, talk us through it.
Yeah, I was really I actually watched the game late last night, my time. I had meetings at work, and so couldn't catch it live, so shut off the phone until I got home last night and put it on. And didn't typically, if I like DVR a game, I'll fast forward through some of the build up and everything. But it was it was a proper Champions League tie, right? These are the games like you play Champions League for. You want to play the Bayern Munichs, you want to play the Barcelonas, the Madrids, the Juventus type teams. So I was, even later in the day, I was still up for it. I was like, all right, this is what we want, midweek European nights where glory's on the line. Even though I had predicted a Bayern 2-1 win, I went into the game pretty optimistic. Having started sort of following more German football this year, this is the most beatable that Bayern's ever been since we've sort of been lucky enough to draw them the last few years in the Champions League. So I was pretty optimistic. Really still thought that they'd probably get some luck at home, so that's why I went with them winning the match. And the first half I thought was pretty good, if not maybe a little stale. Obviously, they got the goal to go ahead there, but I think we really responded really well to that goal. And and trust me, folks, me and Jace have similar, but also at the same time differing opinions on Francis Coquelin. Our opinions differ from past seasons. This season, he's just been he's been more of a liability than he has been a positive for us. Why would you ever show Robin to the inside? Why would you ever let him cut in on his left foot and continue to drive? At one point, at one point during that build up to the first goal, he does like a little, bunny hop to his left, driving.
He was doing the time warp.
Yeah, it was just unbelievable. And then that's, of course, it created an extra half a yard of space for Robin. And let's not act like Robin is Robin of old. He's not he's not the best Robin he's ever been. But the guy's still a world-class talent. And all credit to him, because the strike he hit was absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. Nothing Ospina could have done. But in reality, you got to think. You look back at that goal, and he beat three of our players, and Coquelin was the closest to him, showed him to the open goal pretty much, and just allowed that to happen. And just unforgivable defending there from our good friend Francis. So we were able to get the goal back with the pin, which again I mentioned it earlier. Sanchez going to the exact same spot. Obviously, Neuer knows how to study penalties because he knew exactly where he was going to go. Saves it, and the amazingly, it took technically 3 shots to score that goal, and I'm wondering if Sanchez got his own assist there because he whiffed on the volley and then was able to pull it back down and slot it home, which was good. And at that point, I had a really positive sort of vibe about the match. I was like, all right, like this is still going sort of how I figured it would. Even though we only had, according to 442, only had 25.7% of possession, which is probably the smallest amount of possession I've ever seen Arsenal have since I've been watching in just the last 5 to 6 years. So pretty surprising to see that. But at the same time, you're playing a team like Bayern who's so possession-based that while I was surprised to see us concede that much, I wasn't surprised that Bayern had that much. And, so we go into halftime. It's 1-1. I'm super positive. And thinking like this can be a really good night, even if we do lose 2-1, we still have the away goal, so it's practically 2-2 still, which we can debate the merits of away goals in Champions League all we want, but it is what it is right now, and that's what we were at. And I knew Lewandowski was going to show his class at some point, and he slotted home, and from there, and ever really since. I take that back. Since Koscielny exited the match, and we had that sort of delay with Ospina's shoulder, Koscielny coming out, we hit the ice on the mountain, and we just sped downhill and hit every single tree on the way, breaking almost every bone in our body pretty much. It was our midfield wasn't communicating with our defenders. Our defenders weren't communicating with each other. Gabriel and Mustafi, in my opinion, looked like they had never even practiced together. There no similarities in the line, no communication on when to push up, when to drop back, a lack of communication. And I wish I had an explanation, but I don't. The sad thing is again, it's 5-1, and it may be in the extras a little later, but Danny may have to like title this differently because it's the exact same scoreline the last time we were at the Allianz. And it's really unfortunate. And you can, Alcantar's goal to make it 3-1 and then 4-1, and then Mueller comes in and off for Mueller gets a goal, and it's 5. I didn't even honestly see that goal. I shut the game off because I was about to throw up in my mouth.
Chase, I do apologize. It's not Mueller, it's Muller. Okay.
None of
the Americanisms on here. Americanisms on here.
We won WW2. It's Mueller.
Fuck off.
but no, it was.
It
soured with you guys' help a little bit. Don't worry. No, it's soured.
You want to get fucking bombed to get involved in it? Fuck off.
But no, sorry, Mueller. Sorry, I'll go back to the. Yes, thank you. And but no, I just it's one of those things that we had everything we wanted for the return leg to the Emirates. We had all of our eggs in the basket, and then we decided to take that basket and throw it down and stomp on it and destroy all of our eggs. And you got to blame the players, you got to blame the coach. Because we just I don't know what he said at halftime, but Jesus Christ, was it not helping? Oh my God. I mean, what did he say? Like, hey, you guys can from here on out, because it looks like Ancelotti went in at halftime and said, hey, you're Bayern Munich. And, we're better than this team. And they're a better team than we are. We have to admit that. They have more talent than we do.
Look, I got to be honest. When we talk about halftime team talks, etc., I don't buy all this. We're not in there, and they're the right. They'd outplayed us first half, even though we'd had a fair share of chances and we came back in. But I think it's pretty odd.
Don't tell me you weren't somewhat positive. It's 1-1.
I was very positive. I was very positive.
You have an away goal. At halftime, something happened. I don't know if they put it in.
Koscielny going off. Come on.
That does. We didn't look too great before that either. We were conceding some really.
Bear with me a second now. When Gabriel does not know where the hell he is on the pitch, okay, and the guy cannot defend the ball in the air at all. We have to look at it. And our midfield, never at any point did our midfield look like they were going to take control of that or even gain any parity in that game. So it was a defensive action right the way through.
And a player that I love, I'm going to slag off here a little bit because Xhaka, you would think that he would have been more up for this match, going back to Germany in his old league. Still gets a yellow card, and he definitely is a liability. But just even and as much as I love to praise him, and if you've heard me on the radio show at all this year, you know I got Xhaka on my home kit that I purchased this year. Just was not up for it this match. Just psychologically was not there.
And at least he made a tackle.
He did make a tackle, and Francis Coquelin might as well have been made of wet paper, because we had more holes in our defensive line than the Maginot line in World War II, to make another reference there for all the history buffs.
Let's keep away from World War II now. Let's just keep away from it.
But yeah, it's one of those things that you left that match thinking like, we could have had this. We could have had this, and for whatever reason, I want to put it on Koscielny's injury, because Koscielny is a big part of our team and he's our captain. At the same time, we're the Arsenal, and we should have a good enough replacement, better than Gabriel, to come in, who's worked enough with the other center back to be able to put in a better performance that wouldn't ship 5 goals past you.
Okay, Dom. As Jason's alluded to, coming into half time, where it's 1-1. We maybe got a bit lucky with the penalty, but then again, if it was given against us, that's the way it would go. And you saw later on in the game Lewandowski actually step into the middle of Mustafi's legs as he's played the ball and tried to get a penalty. So fuck them. That's our penalty, no problem. The collapse we suffer after Koscielny goes off, what do you attribute it to? How do you see the way, we went from, yes, we're under pressure, yes, we're fighting a defensive battle, but how did we capitulate so quickly?
We had a bit of a chat after the game yesterday, didn't we? And
we did.
One of the things that I would love to know is I'd love to ask the players that same question that you just asked me, because I think you'd get 11 different answers, and I think that is the problem. I don't think they really knew what the hell they were supposed to be doing, because Alexis is looking around at Oxlade-Chamberlain telling him to move up and press. Oxlade-Chamberlain's obviously sitting back trying to, guard space or do something different, and I don't understand how. I mean, you can talk about Koscielny going off and then conceding the Lewandowski goal, but if you look at the right-hand side, it was Philip Lahm, and I can't recall who the other player was, but they just overlapped. They weren't in a big hurry down that side. There wasn't any pressure over there. The ball came in from a long way out, long way out, and then somehow Lewandowski's 1-on-1 back there. How the hell does that happen after being 1-1 at half time? You would think that the logical kind of team talk or guidance or team management, whatever you want to call it, if it comes from the manager, if it comes from the players, we're going to probably get onto that soon, I guess. But you would think 1-1 away from home, it's a two-leg affair. We've been here before. We've seen what can happen before. We don't want to be out in the first leg. At least give yourselves a chance and make it difficult for Bayern to break you down. But to be able to cross a ball in from that deep, from that far out, and end up with a 1-on-1 with a guy like Lewandowski, how does that happen? And it's a team thing. They should have been sitting deep. They should have been scrapping for everything. They should have been, making sure that the ball doesn't get into that position without there being at least some pressure. I can understand if you think, okay, well, let's either press them hard like PSG did against Barcelona, or let's sit deep, soak up pressure, and just see what we can do and make some clearances and crowd the box. But I have absolutely no idea what we were trying to do without the ball. And that's one thing that I think is really, really worrying for me when it comes to how we're playing football in the last 2 or 3 years, is that if you see the teams that are having success, a lot of it starts with what they're doing without the ball. They press a certain way. I know that Pochettino has his team pressing midfield, tries to create turnovers in the midfield, because then you've only one pass and then you're one-on-one with defenders that way. I know that Pep Guardiola will press space, not necessarily the man, and their mantra is as soon as you lose the ball, you try to win it back again. Jurgen Klopp does the Gurgen press or whatever the hell you want to call it, but it all their attacking stems from what they're doing without the ball. I don't think our players know what to do defensively when we don't have possession of the ball. And when you go away to Bayern Munich, there's a pretty good chance you're not going to have it more than 40% of the time. So for 60% of that game, you basically have to be tactically astute defensively. And I just don't think we are as a team. We don't defend as a team at all. You see Alexis running around pressing and then looking around and thinking, okay, they just had an easy out ball there because the next person didn't step up and press. Is he being told to press, or is he trying to get other? I don't really think anybody has any idea what they're supposed to be doing without the ball. And that's what I think a lot of the collapse came from, is that the Bayern Munich players, wherever they were on the pitch, had all the time in the world, regardless of whether it was in the midfield and Xabi Alonso is just pinging balls around for fun, didn't have to break a sweat, whether it's Philip Lahm and Robin just cantering down the right-hand side with, one-on-ones or two-on-twos, or they even had the two-on-one in that situation where they scored that goal. The capitulation for me, I don't think was all that much to do with Koscielny going off, to be honest, because a lot of the issues came well and truly before it got to the defensive side of the game. The first goal that Thiago scored, how easy was that? That at that stage we were only 2-1 down, and it's not the end of the world at 2-1. But there's no one out there that can manage the game to tell everybody to tighten up, to make sure to remind everyone, guys, look, this is played over 2 legs. 2-1's not the end of the world. Let's tighten up a little bit. Let's shut up shop for 5 or 10 minutes here. There just seems to be absolutely no direction out there whatsoever, and that to me is the concerning thing, because it's not just the Bayern game that's happened. We've seen it against Everton, 1-0 up, lose 2-1. The very next same thing happens a week later against Man City. And it just seems like there is just absolutely nobody out there that is capable of managing a game anymore.
No. We've spoken about leadership on the pitch and decision making on numerous occasions, and nothing changes. Nothing ever changes. Dave, at half time, as kind of alluded to with Tom, okay, we were down massively on possession, but you know what? We won all. It's not the worst place to be, but we seem to be playing the whole game with, certain players who just aren't capable of cutting it at this level. It's well known I don't rate Francis Coquelin. I think he's fucking rubbish. Okay, if you can't pass the ball and you can't drop the ball, and you're a DM and you can't tackle, well, what's the fucking point? And you're getting paid 70 grand a week to do this. Okay,
yeah.
Gibbs, never strong defensively. Looks mentally weak in defence. I can see why he's picked him for his pace with Robin. I don't understand why you've gone to Warby ahead of him at that point, who defensively is not good. In fact, he's not even average. Okay, I don't understand the setup there. And then having to bring on Gabriel, where, let's be honest, from a little bit of early promise when he first arrived at the club, he's just been bang average. Yet this is our strongest squad for a long, long time, since the Invincibles probably. It says something that this is the position we're in. What did you make of it all?
It was, I have to say, I don't want to go over the ground that Dom just went over, but I think he made a very important point. Last night was just like when we played Chelsea away. The first 10 minutes of the game, we went toe-to-toe with them. We were pressing, and that first goal turned us off completely. We didn't have that as great a first half as people were saying, because after the goal, that was when you started to see Alexis labouring on his own up front. calling for people to join him in pressing, but they weren't. We just decided we were going to sit back, a bank of 4, a bank of 5, and try and soak it up. But if you're going to do that, then your midfield players have to go in and win the ball. So your point about Coughlin is a fair one. Because he didn't win the ball, he didn't do much with it. I think I saw a stat where he made 6 passes in the entire game. That was because he didn't go and win it. He couldn't get it off anybody. But it wasn't him alone. That's not the kind of game that the Ox enjoys, being asked to perform a defensive role. But it's where we were for sort of 20 minutes up until about the half-hour mark. I thought we were in danger of getting shafted. And then there was just one little moment. Alexis, on his own, ran at Hummels and got that free kick. I don't know if you remember, just on the edge of the box, which Ozil hit, which Neuer spilled. And all of a sudden, we had a spring back in our step again, and we started pressing again. And we ended the first half well enough to have, you had people in the studio saying, well, what a good good scoreline for Arsenal it is at the moment. Can they make the most of it? But unfortunately, in the second half, the early injury to Koscielny, it was much like, again, Chelsea when we lost Bellerin. You bring on Gabriel, and it's as if a switch goes on in them and they drop back to this bank of 4 and 5. But again, because we're not winning the ball, Bayern are finding it very easy to go in between us. Because you have someone, I'm sure we're going to come on to the topic of Mesut Ozil, not putting in a defensive shift and allowing people to run off him. And he wasn't alone in that last night. And he's a wonderful player, but he's having a bit of a rough time at the moment, and he needs a bit of form and confidence.
Yeah,
he needs a bit of protection.
Dave, I'm going to call you on that. Mesut Ozil is a top tackler during the game. He's our top tackler during the game. Okay, yet our fucking so-called DM, he doesn't know what the fuck to do with Arjen Robben, who always cuts inside. Come on, Dave. You know,
that's a fair point.
Everybody's giving Ozil a load of stick, yeah? Okay, and don't get me wrong, at this moment in time, whether Mesut Ozil or Alexis Sanchez stay or go, I couldn't give a fuck. I couldn't give a fuck about either of them. Because with Alexis Sanchez, it's all about him. As wonderful a footballer as he is, it's a team sport. But when you've got your DM, and Xhaka the same, okay? You know, you're there. They've got all the possession. They've got 80% of possession during this game. And between them, they're not getting there. They're not breaking it up. There's nothing happening. Okay?
And I don't disagree with that, but I think Ozil is part of that problem at the moment, and I think it's probably a time where he ought to be taken out of the firing line, A, for his own good, B, maybe to give him a little jolt that he didn't expect that he would get. But I don't know that Arsene Wenger has got that in him. I think he's so loyal to the players that he has personally rates highly. I think he selects teams on reputation rather than current form, and that was the point I was coming to. And fair enough, I don't mind you disagreeing, because that's what this show is all about. We can get across different viewpoints. We can get across different viewpoints with mates having a chat down the pub, and who's to say I'm right? Who's to say you're right? It's just a discussion that has to take place.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I do think Mesut Ozil needs to deliver more. Okay, I really do. If you want 200 plus grand a week, okay, you need to be putting that effort in on the pitch. Okay, don't fucking tell me that Ozil and Sanchez are better than every other player in the pitch. They're part of that team. Yes, they may be better players than the other guys, but you work for the team. You are part of the team. Shredder, you got a question?
Sorry, I was just going to say, he is capable of it, because you look at clips of him in his Real Madrid days, you think of his good days at Arsenal, Chelsea at home, for example, this season. He can do it. He does put a shift in. I just wonder whether there's a physical reason behind it at the moment, and we're playing him when we shouldn't be.
Maybe so.
I've got a theory on the Ozil lack of form. Later, go to Shredder and
okay, no problem. Shredder, you got a question for Dave? Go.
Yeah. Dave is somebody who used to work for a second division team here in the U.S. I would go to training, a couple times a week and see our team, and our coach was constantly drilling. We were considered a more possession-based team. We loved to play with the ball, but at least twice a week, our team practiced shape without the ball. And as soon as they won the ball back, they would stop the play, return it back to the opposition. I know you've been to a few Arsenal, training sessions. Is that something that you believe that Wenger or Bould or somebody at the club is doing with our players? Because from especially fans who aren't there, and I've talked to a few guys down here at my local pub that we watch games with, and it's just like we don't see it seems from especially the four and I who's not been there that we only train with the ball. Are we actually ever training without the ball on shape and on positioning and things like that? Or is that something that's more Wenger's purchasing the players, hoping that they know how to do that already, and then we just sort of try to train to what the quote unquote Arsenal way of playing is?
Okay, let me qualify before I answer that, and I have got an answer. I think I've only ever seen one full training session, because when you get an invite along to Colney, very often what will happen is that they will take you out for the first half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, and you watch them going through their warm-ups. Then once they've got the body right, then yes, it's all work with the ball. The one full session that I saw, no, there is no work done on shape, on formation without the ball. There are no drills like that. But yes, most of the work that's done after they've got the body working and the muscles loosened, it is pretty much ball work. It's one touch. It's breaking up into little games.
Yeah.
You've seen the sort of thing. If you've seen a members day and you've seen the video, that pretty much is what they do a lot of.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Cheers. Right, Dan. Obviously you were on the radio show last night. You what did you make of the game as a whole? How did you see that? Bearing in mind, we've been here before in the end of a humping in the Champions League.
Well, I can't really add much more than what everyone else has had, apart from pointing out that the bit where John said at the beginning of the show, this isn't a replay, this is live. 15 months ago, we lost 5-1 at home to them again. Now, only 5 or 6 of the players used then were used again last night. And then Robben scored, Lewandowski scored, and Müller got 2. And they had a different manager. They played a different formation, a different style of football. We played the same formation with like 6 of the same players. Nothing ever changes. To give Arsenal their credit, I do think that coming at the end of the first half, we were dominating. We'd had 5 shots on goal. They'd had 3. We had with that fantastic.
We only had 20% possession, Dan. I mean, dominating. That's a hell of a stretch.
In the end of the second half, we were. I don't know what the half-time stat for possession was, 80%. But even the commentator was saying that how good that Arsenal have been playing with the number of shots on goal and stuff like that. And I was quite impressed with it. And I thought we were going to build on that the second half and come out. And all we had to do was get a 0-0, a draw there, and get a 0-0 at home, and we'd have been through to the next round. But it didn't happen. But the only thing I can really add to the game is looking at some stats, which I always find interesting. Talking about Ozil, in his last 10 games, he had 1 goal v Stoke, 2 assists against West Brom and Burnley, which is horrendous. But compare that to beginning of the season, September to November, 10 game span there, 6 goals, 3 assists, and 4 man of the matches. Now, how can a player go from what he was then to what he is now if there's not something just dreadfully wrong with the with the setup, with what's going on? And the last 3 games that he's played for us, he's averaging is about 6.5 a game. He's Opta rating, which is terrible. And then I'm just looking at our recent run of Champions League games. Now, there's games that we expect to win and against shit teams, and there's games where we expect to put up a fight. But of our last, we've lost 7 of our last 17 Champions League games and drew 2. But in those 17 games, we've conceded 29 goals. How are we ever meant to compete with anything if we concede 29 goals in 17 games? And then also went back and had a look at the losses over the last 5 years. These are like grade A games, ones that you would think, right, here we go. This is when we got a chance to show what we can do. Last night, 5-1 to Bayern, 3-1 we lost to Barcelona, 2-0 we lost at home to Barcelona, 5-1 away at Bayern. We lost 3-1 at home to Monaco. I know we beat them 2-0 in the away leg, but they'd shut up shop and were just hoping that that 3-1 would be enough. We lost 2-0 at Dortmund. We lost 2-0 at home to Bayern. We lost 2-0 away at Napoli. We lost 2-1 at home to Dortmund and 3-1 at home to Bayern Munich. Now, in mixed in with that lot, there was a couple of wins over Dortmund. I think we beat Bayern 2-0. I think we beat Napoli in it. But these are the kind of games. Of all those ones there that I've just listed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those were at home. Now, the home games, no matter who you're playing, if you can't even draw at home against the best teams in the world, then you might as well just give up because you're not going to do it. We should be beating most of those teams at home. And maybe if with the amount of money we're playing with, we've got 2 world-class players. We've got one of the best right-backs in the game. We should have one of the best goalkeepers, which I know is debatable, but that's another thing we should point out. Ospina last night, if it wasn't for Ospina jumping around, it was like a game of ping-pong, and they're using Ospina as a bat. We only conceded 5. I mean, you think they could have had another couple of penalties? There was another couple of ones that he palmed away. That could have been 7-8, 9-0, 9-1.
Yeah, but I mean, if some bets, if we just scored 2 in the first half, it's different. I mean, we lost 5-1, and
it could have been worse. I mean,
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with whatever about Ospina. It's not his fault that we lost last night, is it? Let's be fair, okay? But I'm right there with you. But I mean, we lost 5-1. Now you mentioned Ozil, Dom. Yeah. I want you to come back on this now, Danny. After I asked Dom, but his opinion on why is Ozil playing so badly.
Well, you're not going to like this, Jace, but I think a lot of it's got to do with Sandy Cazorla, because if you look at the start of the season where things were working, he was playing higher up, almost like off the shoulder of the striker at the top there, which was why he was getting more goals, because he was in more advanced positions and he was making these runs. And since Santi's left that midfield position, there's been nobody there that's capable of passing the ball forward into those positions. I've spoken about Coquelin a bunch of times in that role. I actually don't think that he's as bad as you say when he's playing defensive mid, but anywhere other than that, he's bad. Like, he is notably bad. And even against who was it we were talking about earlier, Hull, I looked it up just before. He gave the ball away 10 times once he crossed the halfway line. If Aaron Ramsey does that, people are calling for his legs to be chopped off. It's unbelievable the grace period that I guess that Coquelin seems to be having in central midfield, where it's clearly not about to start to work because he's not good enough. He doesn't have the ability to pass the ball into the dangerous forwards. So I think that there's a big link missing in that midfield role, where Ozil's having to drop deep to get the ball rather than being in the position that he wants to be in to receive the ball. Just to get his foot on it, he's ending up in the defensive midfield area just to get a touch, because Coquelin and whatever midfielders, El Neni, don't have the ability to pass the ball to him in the first place. So, and we're not winning the ball in midfield to quickly give it to him to do his thing. That's the other thing, where Cazorla has that passing range to either hold people off and spray the ball out wide, or he can play that pass through to Ozil in dangerous areas. And then all of a sudden, Ozil doesn't have to worry about having 3 people around him that are just going to tackle him or put him to the ground straight away. Now, I'm not saying that Ozil can't work harder without the ball. I think he can. But his offensive output, I think, has slowed down so much when it comes to goals and assists, because he's still playing this high up position. And John Welsh has talked about this on the radio show as well, that we need him to drop back in and be more of a midfield 3 rather than being so high up that there's just this huge gap. It might work when we're playing quickly enough through midfield and we've got players that have the ability to pass the ball more than 10 yards forward. So I looked at Coquelin against Hull. He made 2 successful forward passes over the halfway line. And both of them were out wide to one of those sort of passes that you get at the edge of the box and you just flick it out wide. Nothing sort of direct, nothing that looks like it was speeding up the play, nothing kind of dangerous at all. So Ozil sitting in this number 10 role, not getting the ball. I think that's one of the biggest issues for the guys. He's just not getting the ball in areas that he can do any damage in the first place. And I think it comes from our midfield. We've got some world-class defenders. We've got Koscielny and Mustafi for long periods of the start of the season were very, very good together, and they were a new partnership. Hector Bellerin's one of the better emerging right-backs in the league. Monreal's been reasonably solid. And then you have the forward talent that we have with Alexis, and Theo at the start of the season was so good, and Lucas has proven to look pretty good. Giroud's been scoring goals. The big link for me is that there's just nothing to link it together. There's nothing in midfield. And I've said it before, if you don't win the midfield battle, you don't win big games. And I know the commentators were talking about this, and they alluded to it. They said, Arsenal just don't have, those midfield players like they used to, like the Vieiras and the Petits. And we spoke about it yesterday, that they don't exist anymore. Those leaders on the pitch, your Gerrards, your Lampards, I know it's blasphemy, but John Terry's probably the last one around in the Premier League at the moment. And he doesn't even play at Chelsea at the moment. So these kind of leaders on the pitch don't exist anymore. So it needs to come from the management. The management needs to be able to instruct the players so they know exactly what they need to do, because it's clear that there's no one on the pitch capable of correcting mistakes and managing in-game. So I think that the Ozil issue is just as much the fact that he probably isn't enjoying football at the moment, to be honest, because he's just never getting the ball in a dangerous position to do what he's good at doing. And we know that he's not the greatest defensive player in the world, but he still did manage 4 tackles against Bayern Munich when Coquelin managed 0 in 77 minutes.
That's fair enough. Dan, I'm going to come back to you now on that. Now, whether it's Santi Cazorla or not, Santi Cazorla's injured, the poor bugger. If he comes back from that, he'll be doing well. But the one thing I would say to you, and I want Dave to come in on this as well afterwards, and we'll go back round. But if we've set up this team to cater for Santi Cazorla and Mesut Ozil playing high up the pitch. As soon as Santi Cazorla gets injured, and we know it's long term, why aren't we changing the setup of the team to cater for the skill set of the players that we do actually have?
Well, that's the age-old question, is it? I don't think anyone really knows, but I know Wenger does have this habit of getting a player who does one job and then getting him to do another job. I mean, it started way back in the day with Henry, left winger, turned him into a striker, and Coquelin, who is a defensive midfielder. I mean, and he's been a defensive midfielder, I suppose that's the right term for him. And why he's playing him up, playing him further forward, no one knows.
Trust me, mate, he's not fucking offensive, is he? I'm
not
being funny.
He thinks he is.
He's fucking rubbish.
But how many times in recent years has Wenger got a player and gone, no, you're not going to play there anymore. You're going to play in a different position. We bought Sanchez as someone to play out wide, and now he's decided to play him as a striker, which has worked out brilliantly. Because someone's actually given us a really good...
Yeah, but Dan, I really want to stick to this point of the setup of the midfield. Okay?
Yeah, what are you going to change it with, though? Look at who can he play in there?
Yeah, but this is the thing, okay? He's going with a 2-man midfield all the time, and
you're on about going 3.
Exactly, because Berra.
Because you won't drop Ozil.
No, but you don't need to drop Ozil. You can drop Ozil deeper. We've played with Ozil deeper in previous seasons.
Yeah, but then you were saying earlier that when Ozil is having such a bad run of form at the moment because he is dropping deeper to get the ball and then coming forward. But there's
no link between the defence and offence. We have no transitional game.
That's true. Yep. It's Wenger is always. We've had a couple of different formations over the years. Maybe games like that, we should go back to the one where we played 4-1-4-1. Was that the formation where you had someone guarding the back two? Now I think Coquelin would be pretty good at that. And then have Xhaka and Ozil as the middle two a little bit further forward because they both like to get forward. And Xhaka can be like the third line of defence. It would be like the defence, and then it'd be Coquelin, and then it'd be Xhaka. Trying to outthink Wenger is impossible because the bloke has probably got so much going on in his head, so many ideas, knows so much more than any of us do. It's really hard to think what he is doing, and let alone say, well, he's doing this wrong and he's doing that wrong. I really don't know. I have no idea why he does what he does, but I do know it's the sign of a desperate manager when you keep doing the same thing over and over and over. No matter what the result, you keep doing the same thing. We've seen lately that he has been playing a 3-man midfield. Now, I don't think that's because he's realised playing the the 4-2-3-1 isn't working. I think it's because we haven't really got the players. There isn't enough depth of the squad in it who can play central midfield. And when Ramsey comes back, then we'll probably see it change a little bit back to the 4-2-3-1 again. But trying to second guess Wenger is an impossible and futile game.
Let's not bring that.
I'll tell you what, Jace. I'll tell you what, Jace, it's actually a good question, because if you think of what was probably our best performance since Christmas, you'd probably say the Southampton away game in the FA Cup, when he did go 4-3-3 because he was resting players, because he wanted to give Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain a chance to play that role. And we looked, and I know Southampton too were very much weakened. So we beat a very poor Southampton side, but you can only do that. You can only beat them. He replicated it, if you remember, the first 13 minutes against Chelsea. And he stuck Ozil out on the left wing in order to accomplish that. And again, I would question why Ozil was there, but let's take the point. He knows what he wants him to do. We changed that when we brought on Gabriel for Bellerin, and I don't know why we changed it straight away. I'm guessing it was because he wanted two players, so he had extra cover for Bellerin. But if you remember what happened up until that first goal, we were every bit as combative as Chelsea in that game and looked pretty good going forward. So I'm surprised he hasn't trusted us to go with that 4-3-3 again, because I think he had the players out there last night who started that game who 4-3-3 would have suited a lot better. That's my take on it.
Yeah, okay. Dom, coming back to you before we go to shreds on this. The setup, obviously, we've been outnumbered in midfield so many times this season. And even when you had Santi Cazorla there, you go to that Burnley game, the Borough game where we're just getting bypassed with one ball. It's one ball bang, and all of a sudden, we've been turned and we're in trouble. Do you think a change of formation is needed because we just don't have the players to be able to pull this off?
Not necessarily a change of formation, also a change in instruction from what, like I said earlier, I don't think the players really know what they're supposed to do without the ball. I don't think they really know what position they're supposed to be in if they win the ball back. And this is the thing. I know that I fucking hate Chelsea. I really hate Chelsea with a passion. But there was an interesting interview that Thierry Henry was doing with Eden Hazard, and he asked him, what is the difference between Mourinho and Conte? Like, why the big change? Why is it that, after last season's being so woeful, how they turned it around? And Eden Hazard said something along the lines of, under Mourinho, we understood, what he wanted us to do. But under Conte, we understand football. We understand the positional stuff. And they have this air of invincibility about them at the moment. And it's almost like they've just got so much confidence in each other that they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing, their role on the pitch. So if Hazard's not playing and Willian comes in, it's the same role that's being done, whereas we don't seem to do that. All the players under Arsene Wenger seem to say he's like a father figure, and he lets us sort of express, he lets us express ourselves on the pitch, and he's always encouraging and telling us to play football. And that's all very good and well when you have players like Vieira and, back in the day with Tony Adams, and you can go through that sort of early 2000s team, and every single one of them was a leader on the pitch. Lee Dixon even said it as well during a game. He said that if we ever conceded a goal, we'd all be looking around at each other trying to figure out what the hell just happened, and someone would be getting pelters for it. Whereas we concede a goal and everyone kind of just walks back to the halfway line to reset again. I just don't think without the ball that they know exactly what they're doing, and I don't think they trust each other. I don't think that they have this. With the Chelsea player goes across to cover someone, they know that the person behind them is going to do whatever it is that they're told to do. And it's just like a machine working at the moment under Conte. And I don't think that Arsene Wenger has ever really been like that. For whatever reason, we've just seemed to be... I don't want to label the guy tactically inept. I think that's a pretty stupid thing to say about a manager that's had so much success at the top level. But I do think that we need a fresh idea. I do think that the players need to be really confident and aware in what their role is, regardless of what position they're being asked to play, so that there isn't any questions as why is it that we just let Lewandowski score a goal when we're 1-1 and the ball come floating in from such a long way out and he ended up one-on-one with a defender in the box. Like, hang on a sec, we've got to have a chat about this and figure that out because that's not good enough. But I don't think that they would have even stopped to question what happened. And that's the big thing for me is I know that I'm not a student of the game like some of the people like Dave that's been around for such a long time and gone to so many games, but I do have to sort of ask, what is it that we're trying to do? What is it that we're trying to achieve? Because I don't really get it. And it's hard to get excited about anything in the future when it's just like we're spinning our wheels and we just keep doing the same thing every week.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's Groundhog Day again, isn't it? Jace, coming on to you on this now. You look at teams of years gone by, and as Dom has alluded to, you can pick out leaders. Gilberto, Vieira, Adams, Keown, etc. I mean, the only one I look at in this team, I can see anybody who's an actual leader is Mustafi. And, the lack of protection last night from the midfield. And it's not just Coughlin's fault, that's Xhaka's fault as well. Yeah. Let's be quite clear, as much as I don't rate Francis Coughlin, he's not solely to blame for last night, Where do you see any of the leadership in this team? Do you see leadership from the bench or on the pitch?
So Wenger talked about like trying to purchase leadership and always trying to get guys that had leadership qualities. I think what he's got is a lot of great locker room leaders, which is good. You need that. I don't think we have a ton of on the field leadership. And they're two very different things. People are very different on the field and in the locker room. And I think we got a great locker room atmosphere right now. To be honest with you, maybe minus Sanchez, because he is a bit of a diva. And you need to be to sort of be up front. I don't necessarily mind that. But I just think that, Mustafi was the only one calling out the midfield, asking why it was so easy to go through him last night. Obviously, we know Mertesacker is a good leader, both on and off the pitch, but he's not on the pitch. Even when he's been on the pitch sort of last year, he lost. It's tough to say that that guy that was already so slow already lost a step. But he was a step by sort of high in the game as he had been before. And so if you're not at your maximum level on the pitch, it's tough for other players around you to trust you on the pitch. And I think that's probably where we're at right now is we have a lot of guys who are individually really great guys in the locker room, off the pitch. And you saw, I think, Sanchez trying to lead the front line last night. And maybe you saw, especially once the goals went in, you saw Mustafi started to call people out. But it's something that why does it take us conceding 5 goals to Bayern to do that? Why don't we do that against Southampton? Why don't we do that against, Swansea? Why is it the big teams that we get up for? And that, to me, comes down to not just Wenger's leadership, but the entire sort of organization's leadership. It comes down to Steve Bould and Vic Akers and everybody around the club. They always talk, and it's a huge cliche in the NFL, obviously over here in America, but one game at a time. And they don't use the cliche as much over there in England and Wales, but it's the exact same mindset. Like you're only focused on the next team because we know that a Stoke can beat you, we know that a Swansea can beat you, a Watford can put up. You don't ever look ahead, right? You don't look past somebody onto the next match. But it just seems like there's nobody willing to. Everybody wants to be liked in the locker room, so they're not willing to actually care on the pitch to call people out, except for Mustafi last night, who did it. Granted, he did. He was having a proper go. He was having a proper go with his teammate.
He's the only one who organizes anything on the pitch. Every time you see it.
It's depressing.
Yeah, it's fucking disgraceful. It's fucking disgraceful. These guys have got caps for their countries. They get paid a lot of money, and to be quite frank,
maybe that goes back to our...
To be quite frank, for the money these guys get week in, week out, and to have such a lackluster performance, to have such a lack of responsibility taken, it's fucking shameful.
We were feckless.
Yeah. Dom, you got a question from Mr. Faber?
I do, and this is because he's seen a lot more football than I have. Basically, this has been an ongoing issue that's been spoken about for a very long time, about the on-field leadership and having the right sort of captain material and that type of men amongst men that can organise the troops, so to speak, and get people up for the game and stuff. And I just have this feeling that they don't exist anymore in modern football. The game's changed, and players they're treated with sort of special, I don't know, they're told they're wonderful from such a young age that I don't think they grow up being students of the game. They get by on talent a little bit more these days. And you look at the Tony Adamses, and was he the most technically gifted footballer? But he probably not, but he was extremely intelligent footballer. And I just want to know from you, do you see, not only in the Arsenal team, is there any 23 to 25-year-old footballers in world football, in the Premier League, anywhere, that you think have those same qualities?
Let me answer that in a roundabout way. And by the way, the fact that I've seen a load of football is only down to me living longer. It doesn't mean my view is any more important than yours, because you've been really eloquent tonight, and I appreciate all of that. But in answer to your question...
Don't be nice to the Aussie. Don't be nice to the fucking Aussie. Or the Yank. Or the Yank. Or the Englishman, or the Welshman, fuck everyone.
They're entitled to be Arsenal supporters as much as we are.
No, I'd say don't be nice to anyone today. That's just be horrible.
So where am I? Roundabout answer to your question. We had an opportunity in the last summer to buy pretty much our choice of defensive midfielders, and it boiled down to the fact we opted to spend our money on Xhaka rather than Kante, who has gone on to do an absolutely outstanding job for Chelsea. But I think what Arsene looks at when he's assessing the value of players, he wants to bring in perhaps the younger player in that position who he can work with and develop, rather than the finished article who might only have a year or two left in him. So I think there are players out there. I think they tend to be the older players because they have gone through an awful lot. They've got a lot of scars in their midfield battles. I don't think the youngsters, like you say, I think they're taught a different game these days. I think the fact that the referees are harder on bad tackling means that they're not taught how to tackle properly. And that may be an unfair generalisation, but you're right, there is a dearth of quality Patrick Vieira-like, Emmanuel Petit-like players. And, of course, Arsene knew them when he first arrived because he'd worked with them at Monaco. But now he's worked with nobody in the last 20 years apart from the people he's been with at Arsenal. So he doesn't know where those guys are, if they exist. Maybe.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because just from my perception of just the Premier League in general, if you're looking around, I've got a good mate of mine who's a Liverpool supporter, and he laughs that Jordan Henderson's taken over the captaincy from Gerrard. Like the difference in leadership from the early 2000s to now, I think is just huge. And I look at that and I think, well, like you said, Kante goes to Chelsea and he's able to integrate into that system because of good coaching, because he knows what he's supposed to do, not because he goes there and he just expresses on the pitch and he does whatever he feels like. You know that he is following instruction, and it just so happens that Conte thought, this is the player, or this is the role that I need filled. That guy's very good at doing it. I'm going to get him in. Whereas that's been my big question, is if you don't have, if you can't go and buy a bunch of these leaders to manage and to manage situations, surely it then has to come from coaching. Surely it then has to be taken out of the players' hands, and you do have to baby them a little bit and sort of treat them like they're kids, because maybe they don't have the footballing IQ of your Vieiras and your Petits and players. I mean, you look around European football at that same time, and every big team would have had 4 or 5 players on the team that could have been captain.
Mm. I think actually, if you listen to the most recent former players who are now out of the club, what they'll argue is that Arsene buys what he considers to be, very importantly, intelligent players that he expects to know without being given step-by-step instructions what to do. They're instinctive players, and he's kind of very fond of letting them go and do their own thing. But you're right, at the moment there are games where we rely on them to come together and they don't, for whatever reason. And I don't think he works a great deal on that, other than relying on their intelligence and then pulling it back together again.
Unfortunately, that's just not happening, is it? No. Okay, Jason, you wanted to come in on this point. Come in, pal.
Yeah, I think in talking about the intelligence, it's all great to buy someone you think has intelligence. I think, though, and Dave, I know Jace will definitely agree with me on this, you can't look at the way Coquelin plays and say he's an intelligent player. But, I mean, no. To go on from that, especially with the leadership aspect of it, locker room guys are great, but are we buying good locker room guys so that we can have a peaceful locker room, or are we buying players who will actually be leaders on the pitch? Are we buying players who will actually hold each other accountable? That was the whole thing with the Invincibles. You didn't want to go into the locker room at halftime if you had conceded a goal and have to face, Lauren, look at Lauren in the eyes, or have to deal with Patrick Vieira, barking up your tree. We don't have anybody like that who will go in, except for extreme circumstances.
But Jace, quick question: how do you hold someone accountable when you don't know what the mistake was in the first place because you're not getting any instruction?
No, I completely agree with that, though. I'm not trying to sort of say that Wenger is blameless in this. He should be. Yes, you should realize, especially at this point in our season, that your players are not as intelligent as you possibly thought they were in certain situations. And you as a manager should be able to coach to that. That's your whole fucking job. That is what you get paid to do. And if I didn't do that, if I didn't do my job, what I was paid to do, and fix mistakes that I knew were happening, I would have been gone a long time ago in my job. And the problem right now is that players aren't holding each other accountable, and then 2, nobody's holding Wenger accountable except for fans. And because we're fans on social media, we quote unquote don't count. So the problem right now is something's got to shift in the mentality of the players to say, look, like, no, we're not going to have any more 5-1 at Bayern. Like, we have a talented enough squad to put up a really good fight against Bayern right now. We do have a good enough squad to do that. And the fact that nobody wants to step on anybody's toes, and nobody wants to be the bad guy at training on Monday or Thursday or whatever, says a lot about this team. Nobody wants to be offended. I hate to make this comparison, but it's a very millennial mindset. It's a very, let's not offend anybody. Let's just be nice to each other, and we'll finish third, and we'll be in the Champions League, and it'll be all okay. And me as a fan, I want more. I'm tired of having to listen to David and Danny and Jace talk about stuff about us winning all these trophies in the past. Like, I want to see us win a trophy for myself. It's not the FA Cup, and that's great. Yes, I want to see us win the Premier League. And until our players take more responsibility and our coaches take more responsibility, that's not going to happen.
Okay, all right, well, that's fair enough. Dan, you want to bring something in regarding Philip Auclair
Just a quick thing. If people want, go to SoundCloud, and then Alison Rudd was hosting the Times podcast this week, and Philippe Leclerc made a really good bit about Wenger and why he isn't bringing in the players that he used to, and they've actually cut it out and had it as a separate section from the podcast. So yeah, go and give that a listen, people. And he goes into a little bit of detail explaining why Wenger just can't do it anymore. So I'm not going to try and ruin it because I don't remember it all, but it's worth listening to. But I think the gist of it was that the days of him having all the connections in France are long gone, that anybody who wants a young player, they just buy everybody there. It's the difference between like fishing with a fishing rod and trawling. There are these clubs like Man City and Chelsea and Man United, they just go and trawl and they take everything. I mean, look at Chelsea at the moment. They've got 40 players out on loan. I know we've got 20, but most of those are shit. Some of these other players from Chelsea, they're really doing well. They've got some top quality, and we can't do it all. We can't compete. I know we're in a bit of a hurry, so I'll stop there. I'm just sorting out some of the questions.
Okay, that's it. You know, we can go into responsibility on it. They all carry the can. You know, whether you want Arsene Wenger in or Arsene Wenger out. One of the saddest things I've seen is his face last night in the post-match interview. It was pretty horrible for a guy who's done so much for the club in his time at the club. Dan, have you got the questions ready, mate?
Yeah, I'm just going through some of them. There's been some really good questions, but a lot of you people have asked questions that have been answered during the pod, so I don't think we've ignored it. Jackosaurus says, would you prefer Arsene to take a seat on the board when he retires, or would you prefer he severs ties with Arsenal? Give that one to Mr. Shredder.
Sorry, I pulled a game and was muted. That Wenger goes on the board. No, I think there should be a cooling off period from when he leaves. He should completely disconnect it. If he wants to come back in the future, that's great. But there should be a time when he has no say in anything at the club for a couple of years before we really bring him back and give him any sort of power again. Because he's not a dictator. But he does have a significant portion of power within the organization. I think there should be a period where he doesn't have any say before we bring him back, either as a consultant or somebody on the director's board.
Okay, right, lovely. This next one is for you, Dom, if you're ready. From Nicky Wilson, always puts. I've had to edit this a little bit to try and get it more concise. He says, if we finish top four and Wenger has, or taking into consideration that Wenger has had money and Ozil since 2013, we've had 4 top seasons in the top four and the last 16 in the Champions League and 2 FA Cup wins. Has this been enough for Arsenal and the supporters, and did you expect any more?
I think that we're still playing catch up from the transfer window when we just signed Petr Cech. We had an opportunity that window to add to our midfield, which everybody knew that we should, but we decided to re-sign Arteta and Rosicky and keep Flamini around. And for me, that was one of those things that you can't hide from. And yeah, you talk about the Ozils and the Sanchez's coming in, that's great, but you can't tell me that there wasn't anybody better than Arteta. And, God bless Rosicky, love the guy, but he was not the player that he once was that last season there. And they were both injured anyway. So I think that he definitely should have done better. But for me, it's just an inability to even challenge for the Premier League. Every other big club has managed, even Liverpool, at least in the last few seasons, has at least been there or thereabouts. When Suarez was scoring a hatful of goals and Gerrard slipped up. But they were there or thereabouts. And even Tottenham last year probably made a bit more of a comprehensive run to the league than what we did, even though we finished ahead of them. We're really the only big team in the last 10 years, really, that hasn't actually had an interest in the Premier League title in the last sort of 3 to 4 weeks. And yeah, I do think that we should be aiming much higher than that, because I genuinely believe that the squad that's out there is as good as anybody else's.
Fair enough. Here you go. This one for you, David, from Josh Robinson. He says, who would you bring on to the Arsenal board?
Oh, now there's a question, because there's got to be a major reshuffle if and when Arsene goes, because there's something of a dearth of football knowledge on that board. I was calling probably a couple of years, maybe 3 ago, for Bob Wilson to be given a chance, but of course Bob is shall we say, of seniority these days, and they've already got enough people who are becoming a bit old on that board. You look at, with the best will in the world, Ken Fryer is the Arsenal man on there, and he's 82 at the moment.
Yeah.
I think there's probably a cry for a director of football, and preferably an Arsenal man who is someone like, I don't know, Lee Dixon would always look to be a candidate for me, or Martin Keown or Alan Smith, someone of that next generation to Bob, and then let them go and find the next manager. But that's making an assumption that Arsenal's going this summer.
Hasn't Perez expressed interest in the director of football job as well?
Quite a bit, yeah. I think he said he'd love it.
Yeah,
very keen.
And he's working with the club at the moment, isn't he? That's at some kind of coaching level. Not permanent.
He does a lot of work with the injured players, I understand, at Colney.
Fetching bandages, good.
That's fucking most of the men.
Right,
he's
Jace,
everyone's best friend.
Chase, while I got you there, this is from Yonko Abs, related to the last few questions. When it comes down to it, who chooses Wenger's replacement? Good luck with that.
I don't know.
Fair enough. I'll move on.
Let's be quite frank, okay? We were talking this last night, and we've spoken about it before the podcast. People eulogise David Dean. Well, I love David Dean, the club. He did a lot of good things for the club, but he made a fucking packet full of money out of this club. And he's caused the issues on the board at the moment between fucking bed hopping between Kroenke and fucking Usmanov. Okay?
Well, he was asked to go.
No. He's the one who brought the backers in. Okay?
Yeah, because he was told to.
No. We knew there were issues, but he's the one who jumped beds. Okay, don't fucking defend him. He's made enough money, and he got fucking done. Okay, for fucking spitting on people. No, for jumping sides. This is the thing all time and time again. We try to be the guys. You see Twitter today. People going on with George Graham. This is fuck all to do with George Graham anymore. Nothing to do with George Graham anymore. George Graham was gone over 20 years ago. Okay, and this pissing about and stuff. We have to look at what's happening here and now. Okay, we're in a mess, okay, because we got a bit of a split on the board. Kroenke is not investing the money. Who brought Kroenke to the table? Dean. Okay, so bringing David Dean or somebody like that back to the club is not going to work. Gazidis obviously isn't holding anybody to account, and Arsene Wenger surely cannot be, the only man involved in it. We have to find. People talk about, we'll be bringing Arsenal man in onto the board. To me, you bring a couple of ex-Arsenal players onto it, but maybe somebody from outside of the Arsenal as well, somebody who's seen something different in football. Because I think you need fresh blood all the time. But at this moment in time, mate, I have no fucking idea.
I don't think anybody does. Right, Shredder, this next one for you. It's from Istanbul Guna. What does Mesut's body language tell you?
First, I just want to say, Istanbul Gunnar, I'd love to visit Istanbul, by the way. So hopefully you open your doors to me at some point, because I massively want to travel there one day. I don't know. I do have a worry. Suppose the rumors going around are that only 4 players thanked the away fans in Bayern, and what I only saw, it was only like Ox and Gibbs from a photo that I saw. Doesn't mean that more than didn't do it. But I think in general, not just Mesut Ozil, but I think our entire team at the moment has a body language issue. I think we're just, we beat Hull, but it's Hull, and we should beat Hull, and we're massively down mentally. And I don't read too much into one player's body language. I read into our entire body language, and there was a lot of sort of slumped shoulders, even during the match on Wednesday night, which is worrying.
It is. It's not very good. I think it's Dom that is next. Do you want one about? Here we go. Do you want one about Welbeck, or would you like one about the board?
No, bloody hell! I don't know anything about the board.
Okay, right, from our very own Carl. What is Wenger's reluctance to use Welbeck? I get he's just come back from injury, but if he's on the bench, then why no starts?
Because he's just coming back from injury. I know that's not the answer that you want, but that's the reason. He came back from a pretty complicated knee issue with bone bruising, and too much impact too quickly can easily flare that up, and then lo and behold, another surgery, another 12 months out. So it's not like we have a shortage of options up front at the moment. I don't think Welbeck's really the biggest conundrum we have when it comes to team selection at the minute. I know people want to see him play because, you know, he's quite different to what we've had out there, but I think Alexis up top works reasonably well if the rest of the team around are also playing well.
Okay, well, we've got you here. Anything you'd like to add on Ramsey? He's got calf strain, out for 16 days, back any day. Anything on that? Apart from you predicted it over and over and over.
I mean, until we have a midfield set up where he isn't asked to play 90 minutes coming off an injury every single time he comes back from an injury, it's going to keep happening. Because he has never had a situation recently in the last couple of seasons where when he comes back from one injury, he doesn't get this grace period that Danny Welbeck's getting right now. That's what he needs. He needs to be playing 20 minutes, having a rest, starting a game, coming off at halftime. He should have potentially been fit enough to play the Bayern Munich game and then had a complete rest against Sutton, and then maybe been on the bench and come on for 20 minutes in the next game and worked back into fitness that way. But it's never the case. And if you're going to bring a guy into the team in the central midfield role where the guy, whether you like it or not, runs his ass off for the whole game and he's been asked to play 90 minutes 3 times in a week, he's going to break down. So it's going to keep happening.
I just dropped my silly pay. About Koscielny, hamstring, 1 day lost. They say unknown when he's going to be back. What's your thoughts on that? Is it anything to do with the reason why we kept taking him off last season, where he wasn't completing games?
No. This would just be a newish thing that would probably be a 3-week thing, I would say.
And Perez is also out of a hamstring. So I said 5. They reckon a couple of weeks for that as well. Okay,
yeah,
right.
We're all fucked.
Yeah, you are available if anybody needs you at the club. Right, so that's that question done. Who was next up for? I think it was David up for the next one. Dave, would you like one on Premier League goal scoring or players turning up at the end of the game to applaud the fans? Which one?
Premier League goal scoring.
From PTO 100 now, he sent me what was virtual a War and Peace DM. And if like Jace, you can go and have a look at the podcast account and look at the one he sent me. I said, fucking hell, I think I'll wait for the film to come out. So he sent me a shorter one. He says, in the past, we have said that we needed a 25-plus Premier League goal scorer to win the league. Alexis will get that for us, but what is needed now? I love that question.
Blimey, I wish I'd thought about that before I said I'll take that one.
How about should we shoot more? You can have that if you want.
Well, let's consider worst case. Well, Alexis looks like he's probably going to do it, and he won't have played the full season up there, because I still think that we've seen Giroud a few times and we'll see him again before the season's out, because I don't think it's a role these days that one person can carry out for 38 games a season.
He's got 17 days off now, isn't it? I think something like that. Or 30. Sanchez is now not back until Liverpool, so he's got best part of 2 weeks off. So that's good.
Yeah, but I still think there's a need for one on the basis that it's looking more and more worrying about whether we're going to have him here next season. You've got to have a look and wonder, when we've given him permission to go on holiday in Italy, and Juve have been strongly linked with him and are supposed to be talking to his agent.
Oh, they were last summer. Was it about a £70 million bid we were rumoured, or was it 56 or something like that?
Yeah, the problem is, though, I don't think they can afford his wages. I think we're more worried about Paris Saint-Germain, Chelsea, Manchester City as possible destinations for him. And if we don't pull our fingers out a bit smartish, then that might be an issue. But no, in answer to the question, we obviously need a little more contribution from the midfield this year. It was a strength for us in the last couple of years. You had a good season from Aaron Ramsey. You've had a decent contribution from Mesut Ozil last year. The goals and as well as the performances have kind of dried up from the midfield, and we need more in there if we're going to be champions.
I agree with that completely. And the final one to you, Jace, from Mark Bonner. Only the Ox and 3 other players went to applaud the fans at the end of last night's game. What's your thoughts on that? Have you got your phone near your computer again?
Yeah, I have.
You're a bad man.
Sorry. Look, the bottom line is, okay, I can understand that the guys on the pitch last night were disappointed with their performance, and they've just got humped on worldwide television. But you go back a couple of years in Dortmund where Per Mertesacker given Ozil a bollocking about not clapping the away fans. Alexis Sanchez, the first guy down the tunnel. It's fucking endemic. For as much as there's harmony within this squad, as we've spoken about already, there's no real leadership there. Lawrence as fine a footballer as he is, he's not a leader of men. Okay, and there's nobody on that pitch who is. I think it's pretty fucking disgraceful, to be honest with you. And once again, they're not just letting themselves down; they're letting the club down, they're letting the fans down, and to do it twice in one night, not great.
Yep, agree with you there. It's fucking disgraceful. Right, just quick thanks to AB Gooner, Lounsey 74 American Gunner, Arsenal Hayden, Tank Rodders, Danny B, and Kieran Talapragalagala. And there was also a bit of abuse there for Shredder from another American who, I think an American saying, will you stop saying cunt? Only the people from the UK can say it properly.
You can't say Muller either.
And
so when did I say? When did I say cunt? Other than just now?
I don't know. And also Boo Boo Banner, he sent us an essay as well. Then he got it down to smaller. And when we said that this week's podcast is going to be in 2 minutes 42 seconds long in tribute to Wenger, James in America said good. He said, I get bored after the episode after that long anyway, so fine with me. Cheers, James. Right, that's all the questions done because it's 10 o'clock and David's got to go to bed.
Okay, one question to all of you, one word answer. Time for Wenger to go, yes or no, Shredder?
Yeah.
Dom?
Yeah.
David?
Yes.
Danny?
Compassionately.
Sad times.
Jace,
okay.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
I think saying compassionately, it has to be done right.
Yeah. Look, the abuse he gets.
End of the season.
Has to be done right, and that has to be a decent replacement. Yeah. No Eddie Howe's or Laudrups or whatever these other fucking half-assed
and whoever the fuck said Alan Pardew, you can go sit on a fucking spiked ball, you motherfucker. I
think he was taking a piss, okay? But let's be honest.
As an Arsenal fan, I wouldn't put my money on he's taking a piss. Some would probably think that. He's English. It's all we want.
Oh,
passion.
But the likes of fucking the suspects out there, we're trying to make money off the back of it or get the likes of Piers Morgan who are trying to get a bit of exposure. Fucking ignore those cunts. I want to have anything to do with those scum. But leave the guy go with a bit of dignity, and let's just hope he can get an FA Cup or something out of it at the end of it. Right, guys. Sutton United on the weekend.
On Monday, 7:55 kickoff.
Monday, yeah. Shreds.
Yeah.
Sutton prediction.
Sutton prediction, I'm going to go 3-0 to the Arsenal, and my first goal scorer, because I think he'll be back by then, hopefully, will be Sir Perez, Mr. Lucas.
Okay. Dom.
I'm going to say 4-0, and I'm going to tentatively say Welbeck if he plays, because I'm not sure that they're going to want to give him too many minutes on this artificial pitch.
Okay, David.
I'm going to take a little bit of one and a little bit of the other. 3-0 to the Arsenal. Danny Welbeck.
Ooh, Danny.
I've actually gone 4-0 Walcott, but looking at Sutton's form, they've only just been promoted to the conference. They are dog shit away. They are getting spanked, I think 3-0 and 5-0 away, but at home, because of that pitch there, they're not too bad at home. So it's going to be, I would play a load of reserves in there because I don't want any of our players getting injured. When we like against Southampton, that kind of lineup. Chase, what's your prediction?
6-0 to the Arsenal, Perez.
You've gone full Carpenter there. Are you sure?
In all fairness, it's Sutton fucking United. Okay, it's not fucking.
Have you seen how big their backup goalkeeper is? He takes up half the goal.
I'm not being funny. Okay, he's a dude. Okay, right? If he doesn't have a heart attack by half time, I'll be surprised.
Oh, he's a Southampton fan, and he was on Gooners in the USA podcast. Did 20 minutes with him. It's very good.
He's 40 stone.
So am I. We're just happy.
At least you've got an excuse. You can't use your fucking legs.
Oh, very true. Right, okay, come on, wrap this up. I can hear David falling asleep.
Yep. Shredder, shout out.
Shout outs. I'm going to go to at Ian_492 at IAN_492. Really great gooner from New York City. I'm also going to go to at Loose Footballs and let me just double check that. It's my good buddy up in Portland, and yes, at Loose Football, LOOS Football, at Loose Football.
I know who that is. Come on, the Timbers.
Two amazing gooners over here in the USA.
Fellow Timbers fan, I think. Yeah, I'm sure
he is. He is season ticket holder. Yeah.
And spent quite a lot of time with our OG.
Yes, I met him. I met him at the San Jose. Me and him actually hung out the full day in San Jose when Arsenal played the MLS All Stars.
Good.
So great gooner.
Nice, Dominic.
I'm going to give John Welsh's terrible beard a shout out. He shaved it off and he's trying to grow it back again. He keeps trying to give me grief and say that just because I can't grow one, I'm not supposed to comment on his beard. But I've just sat here for an hour and a half commenting on football and I've got no idea how to kick one. So I think that logic doesn't quite work.
Jesus, breathe, fuck's sake.
Sorry, I was thinking of something else. Mr. Holick.
I'm going to go for a Nigerian mate of mine. He's a teacher. He does an entertaining blog as well. He's at Senti Claus. That's CENTYCLAUS. Real good guy is Sent. Get following him.
Nice. Daniel?
First of all, best wishes should go out to our very own Jeff Arsenal. He's MIA at the moment. We think he's hiding in a bunker at the end of his garden. It's a fucking big garden because it's all gone wonky. But my shout is going to El Comandante 84. I'm sure you know how to spell it.
I gave him a shout out last time.
I've just been chatting. He likes my picture. So I've been there and had a look through some of his tweets, and he has got some very good things to say. So there you go.
Unlike you.
Yeah, El Comandante 84. Yeah, very unlike me. I just make it. I'll just read it off of Wikipedia.
Okay.
Who are you going to say hello to, Jace?
Well, I got two actually. One on behalf of myself and one on behalf of the pod. The first is to Corey Austin, friend of the show. Yep. We love Corey. He's a top man. You should follow him. Some brilliant pictures. And he's at Corey, CORY_Austin. AUSTEN. He's a great follower. He takes some wonderful pictures. He travels around the country a lot. And the other one is to Chris Carpenter. Chris is at this moment in time. He's doing a lot of travelling. He's taking that high road, trying to ignore the reality of what's happening at the Arsenal.
Is he still alive? Is he still with us? He's so ill.
Well, to be fair, he's still trying to justify Francis Coquelin having football boots. I feel for him, and I feel your pain, brother. Don't worry. I've got your back, and I got 24 knives for it.
Oh dear! You should just say that Gimli might be back next week, but we've been doing this. He's been doing this so many years. I think what we're going to do, we've been doing this season, is him a week, you a week, him a week, Chris a week, and do it like that because it does get monotonous having to talk to these twats for 2 hours every Thursday.
I gotta be honest here.
Can I give one more US shout out to Gooner Gras down at Mardi Gras with all the Gooners that went down to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. It was a big party. me. And big shout out to Gunnar Gross down by the NOLA Gooners down there. So fun time for all the Gooners down there, except for the fact that we lost.
Right. Okay. No, you can't.
Okay.
I'll edit that out.
No, leave it in. I've now lost the will to live. I've had a fuckful. I don't being funny. What a bag of wank this week has been, okay? My thanks to you, Danny.
Oh, it's a pleasure to hear your dulcet tones, and you're so calm and collected most of the time and never swearing. I don't know how you managed to do it without swearing.
Just fuck off.
First Sean, now you. What's with people telling me to fuck off all the time?
Because you're a twat.
Oh, yeah.
I love you. Dave Faber, thank you very much, mate.
Thank you, mate. It's good to be on. I hope we weren't too bloody depressing, everybody.
Oh, fuck him.
At least none of us called the manager a swear word and demanded his head, unlike most of the attention-grabbing fucking cock munchers on Twitter.
Yeah, fuck them. I got no fucking time for those cunts. Mr. Muskie, it's lovely to have you on, as always.
Thank you very much, Jace. This is about 10 hours worth of conversation I've had with you now over the last 2 days, and
Another chat weekend, bro?
Yeah, let's do it. Saturday, I'm free.
Sweet. We've bored the listeners. Let's just bore each other. It's sweet. Mr. Shredder, it's been a pleasure. Thank you ever so much, buddy.
Yeah, cheers to everybody for listening, and always a pleasure to be on with Dom and the gentleman Gunnerholic.
Hey, stop fucking milking it, okay? Fuck off.
No, well, okay, so I'm milking Dom, but it is an honor to be on with Gunnerholic, who was one of the early blogs that I read in my very earliest Arsenal supporting days. So always an honor to be on with Dave.
You were the one. Thank you.
I was.
Well, thanks for listening, guys. It's been painful. I'm losing the will to live. I'm just going to chuck my head in the toilet now and fucking end it. I've had enough.
Just go for a pint, Jace. Go for a pint. It'll be all okay.
I'm going to buy a pack of fags now. I've had enough. Guys, thank you ever so much. Listeners, thank you ever so much. It's Sutton next week. We will have a radio show after Sutton. The current blog is by Lucas Premium. Great read. Give it a look. Next week's pod, you have no idea what the hell is happening next week, but tune in again. It will get better, I'm sure. Take care. Thank you very much. Up the Arsenal. That's a fucking wrap. I've had enough.
Well done, that man.
Cheers for staying up late, David.
You're welcome. I am going to fly though. I've currently got whiskey shortage.
Oh no.
Withdrawal symptoms.
Send in the some donuts.
Dave, I may send you some of my good Kentucky bourbon at some point. It's fucking outstanding. I may send that over to you. I may hit you up on WhatsApp and get your address and see if I can't get that over to you.
Superb. What a star. It will be much appreciated, I'll tell you that.
No worries.
One in the blinking of an eye.
It was great to work with you, boys, tonight. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Thanks, Dave.
Armagon, take care.
It's painful, boys. Painful. Take care, Davey. Boys.
We kept it as positive as we could. That was the good thing.
That's what we do. We don't do any of that attention-seeking bullshit.
I think at least we went into some actual sort of
analysis
and analytics and questioned what's going on rather than just saying Wenger's a cunt. No, he's got no idea what he's doing, because he clearly does have an idea what he's doing, but it's just
I think it's us that don't know what we're doing.
It's not working. Actually, I wanted to bring it up and I forgot that Fife actually said something on a pod sort of this season. He said, we haven't played good football for 3 or 4 years. And I think he's right.
No, I agree.
Consistently. We have a game here or there where, against the Man United, against a Chelsea, against Man City. But when it comes to the consistent sort of performances, we haven't done that for a long time.
So when we sold Van Persie, we lost our system. And we haven't played to a system since then. We've played to Santi's strengths, but I can't identify what our system is right now.
No, and that's what I keep saying in all the pods that I've done and radio shows and even tonight is that's my biggest concern is that I don't think that's what I asked you. I said it's hard to hold your other teammates accountable when Alexis says, why weren't you pressing? And Oxlade-Chamberlain saying, because I'm sitting back. I don't think either of them know what the fuck they're supposed to be doing. And so
the matter is, boys, if you've got players like Francis Cochrane, like Gabriel on your side, okay, you ain't winning the fucking title.
I disagree, Jace. I disagree. It's next man up, do your job.
Yeah, but he's not capable. He can't kick a fucking ball. He's like that gif with the horse and the ball.
But if everybody's out there just running around like a headless turkey, your shit players will get showed up even more. But if everyone's doing their role and everyone's defending as a team and they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing, then it becomes a little different. You could get away with Gabriel for a few games. You could get away with Coquelin for a few games. But you can't do that unless there's a system in place where everybody else is functioning at a decent level. Because individually, you're right. Individually, they're fucking useless. But I still believe that with enough quality around them, it would be fine.
But you look at earlier this season, from when we played Hull and we beat them 4-1 at Hull, we had a run of 11 games. We drew 1, won 10, and we had 7 clean sheets, including clean sheets against Chelsea and Basel. I mean, away at Burnley. I mean, Burnley are a decent team at home. Spanking Ludogorets 6-0, doing Sunderland. But that was a great run. How can that? Where's that gone?
That Ludogorets game, okay, we flattered to deceive. They played some really nice football in that game.
They were unlucky.
Really did.
They did fall apart, much like we did last night.
Yeah, but Jace, that's a run of 11 games where you win 10 and draw 1. You don't do that without by accident. That's what we're saying. What changed systematically that it's just all gone to shit. And I genuinely believe it's just this midfield that relies on individuals all the time. And Theo Walcott was a big loss. I think people sort of underestimated how much of a difference the form that he was in and the damage that he was causing for defences where they've got no fucking idea what to do when he plays, because if they sit too deep, then you're giving Ozil, etc. space in front of the back four. And if you push up, then Theo can run in behind. So he created a lot of issues. And then if you take Santi out of the team, for whatever reason, it was working with him and Ozil being sort of central mid and further up.
Stop for a second. Did we watch the Borough game? Did you watch the Burnley game? Because you did, and I know you did, okay?
Yeah.
We flattered deceive in all those games, okay? And we did, because Burnley had more than enough opportunities to put us away, as did Borough. We were lucky against Swansea, okay? We were very lucky against Swansea, right, at home. We weren't dominating the world. The only game we really did dominate this season, funny enough, where I thought, the scoreline should have been bigger, was the Chelsea game.
Yeah, I was going to say Chelsea.
That's the only, and that's because they were still trying out new formations. Dave put a good point in. The last time I remember watching Arsenal and thinking to myself, look, we're going to win. We're just dominating teams at the moment, was when Aaron Ramsey was just running amok in midfield. And I keep saying it. I don't give a fuck how good your strikers are. I don't give a shit how bad or how good your defense is. The big games are won in the center of the park. They're won by who's going to win the 50-50 duels, who's going to win the knockdowns, who's going to win the ball in the air and knock it down to one of your teammates to start an attack, who's going to stick their foot in, who's going to break up the play, who's going to press and be able to cause counterattacks, etc., etc. And we keep getting dominated by shit teams in midfield, let alone Bayern Munich.
We were talking about Cavani earlier, right? Cavani's teams create for him like 8 to 10 chances a game.
Oh, but he works hard off the ball.
No, he does.
Yeah.
How many chances do we create? We supposedly have two center forwards who also work hard off the ball. Like, don't tell me that Giroud doesn't work hard off the ball. The problem is our strikers have to drop so fucking deep to receive the ball right now.
Yeah.
They're not near the fucking goal. Look at
because the midfield can't get the ball to Ozil, who can't get the ball to the forwards. That's my big query at the moment.
I can't remember the last fucking through ball we played.
Because Ozil's not getting the amount of times, if you watch any Real Madrid highlights of the guy, they win the ball in midfield and quickly it's a 5-yard pass, quickly flick it to him, and then all of a sudden Ozil's running towards goal. And the defenders are looking at him going, oh, fuck. Whereas every time he gets the ball now, he has to run and receive the ball with his back to goal. Like he's a centre forward with hold-up play. I mean, as a defender, you're like, well, you're not going to do fuck all from there, are you? But if you can intercept the ball in midfield, or you win a 50-50, or you get sort of your feet on the ball, you quickly flick it to an Ozil, and then your game on. And then he can produce these through balls, and then he can do all of these things. But we're not winning the midfield battle consistently enough for him to do that.
Well, the disjoints in between midfield, we have no transitional game at the moment, do we?
None. Nothing.
No, none.
When you look at Coquelin passing sideways all game, and the ones that he does attempt to pass forward are out wide, and even then, he's misplacing most of them. 80% of his forward passes against Hull, he misplaced forward. 8 out of 10. He misplaced. That's fucking disgraceful. And so if you don't have a midfielder that can actually pass into a position to get Ozil to be dangerous, I mean, there was a thing just popped up on Twitter before about, Ozil's agents come out and said that Ozil feels that he's a scapegoat for when Arsenal play bad. I agree. I completely agree with that statement, because what do you expect Mesut Ozil to do? Fucking everything? Is he supposed to drop into central midfield, tackle, intercept, and assist himself? Like, I don't understand. He's a very good player at being offensive. Now, if you said to Dennis Bergkamp, right, you're gonna drop deep and tackle and intercept and do all of these things, do you think he would have assisted and scored? No, he had Vieira and Gilberto doing that, flicking him the ball, and then bang. Or he could pass the ball out wide to Pires or Lundberg or whatever he was doing, but he got the ball in dangerous positions all the time because of the rest of the team. At the moment, Ozil never gets the ball in a dangerous situation.
No, he doesn't. I mean, the painful part of it was, Xhaka last night was poor. Last night is not, Coughlin's fault alone. It's not, but he's part of the problem, okay? It's a Sir Alex Ferguson thing of, you can't come here with players like Francis Coquelin and expect to win. Well, that's, to be honest, that's what
and I think
Ancelotti's thinking last night.
Well, and I think a lot of it, if other players are in form, we can get away with Coquelin being in the team.
He's asked to do less.
Not only that.
The fact that nobody else is in form, and he gets exposed.
So going forward, so if you have Francis Coquelin and Mesut Ozil on the team, I'm going to repeat this. I've made this point so many times. You're playing forward with 10 men, and you're playing backwards with 10 men. So if you expect, okay, to go a 50, 60 game season playing fucking 10 men one way, you ain't winning fuck all.
This is the thing. This is my argument to that point. When Francis Coquelin has played with Santi Cazorla in a deep role, he hasn't had to be offensive because he did exactly what I said.
But Santi Cazorla's no longer in the team.
That's exactly right. And because we don't have a system, that's the problem. And because Coquelin is so one-dimensional, the only way he works is with Santi Cazorla because there's no system in place for him to work any other way.
You're talking about a destroyer who's not even destroying at the moment.
That's right. Exactly.
You guys should go see AFC Freddie 8's last tweet from 2 minutes ago.
Oh, so
he hasn't come out of the closet, has he?
Oh, it's negative. Oh,
new
it's
boots.
Negative.
It's not him naked in his welly standing on his bed.
At some point, you have to kind of look at this situation now and think. I was talking to Jace yesterday. We had a good old chat, and I looked at Allegri's Wikipedia page, his history, what he's done, what his philosophy is, how he's sort of managed teams and the success and stuff that he's had. And it's pretty hard to read all of that and not think, you know what? He ticks every single one of the boxes of what our players are screaming out for. People want to talk about Simeone. I think he'd be fucking woeful. I would not want to see him anywhere near our club because within 3 weeks, everyone would be complaining about the boring, shitty football that we play. And we don't have the players with the right mentality to be able to play that way anyway. They're all a bunch of softcocks. If you look at what Allegri's done with Juventus and how he's changed and his philosophy on football, it matches up with everything that we do. But the one big thing in from what I read is that he is very tactically astute and he demands his players to understand what the hell that they're supposed to be doing. I don't think Arsene Wenger has conversations with players and says, by the way, Francis, I told you not to do that, did I not? And you continuously did it for 45 minutes. And if you don't fucking sort that out, you won't be playing next week. I don't think that's a conversation that he ever has. And I said to Jace before the Bayern game started, if he picks Coquelin, there's a myth about Coquelin being in midfield as being more defensive. It's a myth. He's not. He doesn't tackle or do anything defensive when he's playing centrally. Oxlade-Chamberlain would have been a much more safe option defensively to put in central midfield against Bayern Munich. Even though that is kind of a strange thing to think about, Francis Coquelin didn't make a tackle for 77 minutes until he went, for the whole game, basically, is when he went off.
Jesus Christ.
No tackles.
To be fair, boys,
you can't tell me that that's he's picking a safe option. He's being defensive, and that's a good thing. He's being, he's taking precautions. That's not taking a precaution, putting Coquelin in your central midfield role. That's actually fucking playing with fire because he doesn't know what the hell he's supposed to be doing once he's over the halfway line. He has no clue. At least Oxlade-Chamberlain has the offensive capability to put a bit of fear in Bayern Munich, and at least he has enough of sort of like an engine in there to dribble past people. He's got a great take-on percentage. You give him the ball, at least he has something. At least he has something. Coquelin doesn't have any passing range whatsoever, but he also wasn't making any tackles, so I just don't understand the point of him playing that role. And it's not a one-off. This is the annoying thing. Every single game this year, he's played central midfield and not deep. He's been bad, visibly bad, and yet he still keeps getting picked there.
We should build a fucking trench.
It's doing him no favours either, is it?
Well, this is the annoying thing for me with Arsene Wenger, is it's just like, what do you think is about to happen? He's all of a sudden going to be the next Santi Cazorla with his passing. He's going to become two-footed overnight. He's going to be able to hold off players, or do you think that all of a sudden he's going to start making tackles when there's been no evidence of that happening? So I don't really understand this. I remember a few seasons ago where he did a 4-1-4-1 and he was trying to squish Jack Wilshere and Aaron Ramsey into the same team, and he was playing Arteta as the one who can hardly fucking move. and he was playing Ozil out wide left, by the way. Every single person was screaming like, can this please stop? This will not work. For fuck's sake, what are you doing? And the only reason it stopped is because one of Ramsey or Wilshere got injured. I can't remember which one it was. And we went back to a 4-2-3-1. And I know, that was the season Jack got injured. We went back to a 4-2-3-1, and that's when Ramsey was just fucking out of this world for most of that season. So even then, the only reason that he stopped that stupid fucking system that wasn't working at the start of that year was because of an injury. And now it just seems like he's going to keep picking Coquelin in central midfield. It's just going to keep... There's no... I with you, Jace, I don't think... Shredder, I don't think that Oxlade-Chamberlain's been anywhere near as good as people think in central midfield. I think it's a massive indictment of the fucking lack of quality we have in that position. That he seems to be making all the others look good. He's making himself look good compared to Coquelin and El Neni. And people can say what they want. The Ramsey-Xhaka partnership worked when it was there. I think there was like 14 goals for and only 2 against when they were playing in midfield.
The problem is the agenda that's set in there now has just gone past the point, isn't it?
Well, that's what I hope, at least, if Arsene can see beyond that, and it's clear that he does, because holy shit, he doesn't seem to have an issue with ignoring, pressure when it comes to everybody saying, what the fuck are you doing? That if Ramsey gets injury-free and is fit enough to do it, I still think that the Xhaka-Ramsey partnership's the one to go with. And people want to say, oh, Ramsey leaves us exposed. Well, I don't remember too many games where he has 0 tackles from midfield. I don't remember too many games. I don't remember too many games where he's not capable of passing the ball forward. I know who I would rather out of those two in central midfield.
That's my pick, Ramsey and Xhaka.
Yeah. I'm not being funny, boys. It's like comparing a fucking donkey to a fucking thoroughbred, isn't it?
Well, Jace, me and you talked about this in the group the other day. Like, it's not And I think Dom did hit on it. The fact that we haven't had somebody like that in so long makes us overestimate his ability when he came back. And so I'll backtrack. Admittedly, he wasn't spectacular. He was better than we had in that position, so we all overvalued him.
Yeah.
But he is massively limited. And when he fucking pirouetted like a fucking ballerina in Black Swan off of fucking Hazard, that summed up his career. Summed it up 1,000%. My issue is who really do we have better to play it at that position at this moment? But that's also a more telling issue.
I was just I've spoken to John, I've spoken to Chris about midfields and things, and you look at the PSG midfield. What do you think that cost to assemble?
Rabiot,
Verratti, and Matuidi. Look at Verratti's
expensive. Rabiot or Webra, however you say his name is not. He's maybe 25 million.
No. I'm talking about what it cost PSG to assemble that midfield, not what it would cost to buy them.
Oh, no. Probably less than 30 million.
Yeah, for three players that just fucking made Barcelona look like little girls. Then you go to the Juventus midfield after they get rid of Pogba. They were able to buy in Pjanic or whoever it was and a couple of other players. And John said that their midfield actually is structured better now, which is pretty scary to think because Pogba was very good in that system. And it can't be difficult to find central midfielders that could improve Arsenal. It can't be, because as much as I love Aaron Ramsey, until he puts a season together where he can actually be relied upon, we need more. I think he's good enough, but if he's not playing, then he's not good enough. I know that sounds strange, but Sandy Cazorla at the moment is not good enough because he's not fit to be able to play. And so what we do have isn't good enough. We need a Rabiot type player. We need a Pjanic. We need, I know that it's a little different, but Toni Kroos went to Real Madrid for £18 million.
Jesus
Christ. It's not expensive to go after these central midfielders that could be better than Francis Coquelin or that could be better than El Neni. I know that El Neni only cost $5 million and he's tidy, but holy shit, he's never gonna lead us to a title. He's not someone that you put in each and every week and think, yep, there we go. I feel safe with him in midfield.
Okay, so here's another argument for that. If you win the title, how much more money is that than if you come in third?
It knocks everything.
Winning the title, if you buy the expensive player, pays for itself.
Yeah.
So if you're worried about profits, shut the fuck up. Even as a businessman, I can see that. If you win the title by buying player X, and then winning the title gets you X money, well, then you go buy player X and you break even and you're fine.
Yeah. You look at Man United with Ferguson's last year. Best part of 30 million on a 30-year-old Van Persie, won him the title, worth every penny.
And my other thing, I noticed this today because I was on News Now before the podcast, and I was looking at, and they had like the 8 or the 6 influential people behind the Wenger decision or whatever, and and call me a fucking idiot for this, and you can add this to the extras if you want, Danny.
Oh, you're a fucking idiot anyway.
You're a fucking idiot. I'm eating peanuts. I'll just ask them how much extras do they want. We're still talking.
No. So, but Josh Kroenke, the son of Stan Kroenke, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to spend more money than Stan. He will. Because if you've grown up, because I think he's like close to my age. He's like 35, 34. I'm 32 right now. If he knows that he can win and make more profits from winning, he will do what it takes to win. And my issue with all of sports is if you want to become really good, then you pay the money to win early. That's how the Yankees became the Yankees. They won early. And then they got a history, and then everybody wants to fucking come play for them because they're the goddamn Yankees. And if you play for the Yankees, you're a fucking winner. Whether you actually win or not, you're a winner because you're always going to have the potential to win.
When was the last time the Yankees won the pennant?
2009. No. Well, when we won the pennant, well, it's still 2009. But we won the World Series in 2009 last, which is still sooner than Arsenal's won the biggest trophy that they could fucking go for. Right? So my issue is winning breeds profits, and I think that Josh Kroenke sees that more than Stan Kroenke.
Well, you look at Stan Kroenke's decision with his other teams. He's moved the Rams to LA purely as a business decision for profit.
Stan Kroenke's a profit whore because the part about it that a lot of Arsenal fans don't understand is the stadium deals in the U.S. He's not building a stadium. He's building a complex off of the stadium that is pretty much a retail center. So he's pretty much building a stadium plus a mall. The mall will attract more people more often than the fucking stadium. The stadium's there for NFL games 7 to 9 Sundays out of the year. If he's lucky, it's there for 10 weeks out of the year because maybe he gets a playoff game and then maybe he hosts a Super Bowl, right? So 10 at the most. But what he's done that's fucking smart is he's put a mall attached to that, which makes money year fucking round. That's why he moved it to LA. Because the mall in LA will attract more people than a mall in St. Louis because there's more people in LA than there are in St. Louis. That's how he's making his money back on this. He's going to break even within 5 years of this deal. He will break even and make more money than Jason and Danny and Dom and myself could ever fucking imagine.
This is the thing, though, isn't it? And this is where the old school Arsenal fans, like your Gavs and these guys, can't stand it because the guy has no interest in Arsenal winning. Doesn't care. Does not care. Every decision that's made is about money and is about profit, rather than having someone that's an Arsenal person. Like, you can say what you want about Abramovich, and I think what he's done is fuck the game because of the crazy spending that he's done. And it makes it changes the landscape. It skews everything too much. But the guy wants to win. He's desperate for that team to win. He doesn't give a fuck about the profits. He just wants the team to win. And until we have an owner or people around that are desperate to win, no one's going to put our manager under any pressure because he's not accountable to anybody. No one's going to say, Arsene, I want to win this fucking league. You've got all the money to do it, and go and do it, or someone else will. It's not about that. It's about, now, Arsene, we need to make a profit. And don't spend too much. I know you've got some money there, but, I still think that even though we're out of the whole financial debt when it comes to the stadium stuff, I still think that he has got some restraints that people probably aren't aware of because of the fact when you look at the way Kroenke runs things.
If there's borrowing leveraged against the club, okay, and I obviously Fife or Steve would be better to talk about this, but if there's borrowing leveraged against the club, then there are going to be restraints, okay? But the difference is, this is the thing. David Dean brings Kroenke in. Hillwood's words at the time are, we don't do business with people like that, or you know what I mean? And then they brought him in, etc. Then Dean goes and gets Usmanov. He wasn't asked to bring them in. This is what he saw. He knew about Fisman being ill, etc. And it was his decision to bring these people in. But because of the nature of two of them coming in, it's, Kroenke wasn't the man to bring in. He just wasn't. For somebody like the boys from Abramovich, there's a great article from Matthew Said where he talks about Abramovich as detoxifying himself with owning Chelsea from all the dodgy dealings in Russia. Okay, Mansour at Man City, horrific human rights issues there, blah, 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 detoxifying the brand, detoxifying himself. The same thing, with the is it the Qataris at PSG? They're detoxifying themselves. They're giving themselves an out by having holdings in these in sort of European countries, etc. With football. For Kroenke, it's a business tool. It's as simple as that. And he, you know, as you say, he doesn't.
If the owner doesn't care about winning, and it's clear that he doesn't, because the other teams that he owns don't win. The other teams that he owns aren't run like the New England Patriots or the Boston Red Sox or like the Yankees, or, you know, they're not franchises that are pushing to be successful every year. Everything that he has and everything that he owns is purely business related. You know, the decision to go to LA is nothing other than money. And until that changes, I don't really see too much. Like I still look at the squad that we have on paper and think it's underperforming. And it's been underperforming for a long time. And there is a systematic issue with our playing style where every one of these managers that, you know, your Jeffs and your Chris's are saying, well, you know, where are the Klopp lovers now? He lost a game. Well, what happens when we get spanked? Do you kind of understand where the frustration comes from yet? Like, they're very quick to go, well, Klopp lost 2 games in a row, and, oh, you guys all want him over Arsene Wenger. You guys are crazy. And then Arsene Wenger loses 2 games in a row, and they say not a word. None of those managers are any better than Arsene, and none of them are any worse. But what they've got is a system. Every single one of the managers that are above Arsene Wenger in the league right now demand a system from their players, aren't reliant on one player. And so they're probably less likely to have big collapses throughout the season. I mean, Aguero's being told to go and sit on the fucking bench. Imagine that as a luxury. I don't necessarily think it's because Gabriel is that Jesus is a better player than Aguero. I think we're all in agreement that he's not. But what he's doing is he fits the team model better than Aguero does right now. And that's more important than individual brilliance. Pep's done that before. He was benching Lewandowski because he wasn't being tactically astute and being part of the whole overall system at Bayern Munich. And when you have the balls to go and tell Lewandowski to go and sit on the bench because you're not part of what we're doing here, when you've got the balls to go and tell Aguero to go and sit on the bench, that's the kind of manager that I want, where he believes so much in his system that he doesn't actually value individual brilliance as much as what maybe Arsene Wenger does by playing Alexis all the time, even when Alexis will give the ball away or he'll make a bad pass or a bad decision and he never gets pulled up on it.
The worst part of this is, you know, you look at the behaviour on the pitch at times. You know, okay, Alexis is a fantastic player, you know, but his behaviour on the pitch and the way he shouts his teammates, and bearing in mind the amount of mistakes he makes in the park, you know, he needs a fucking slap. You know, you wouldn't fucking have that anywhere else, okay? And yet we kind of allow this to happen. But again, we allowed it to happen with Van Persie. And you know, you had Van Persie sort of, you know, attacking players in the dressing room and stuff like that with Ramsey and what have you. And you're just thinking, how can you seriously expect to compete as a football team with that nonsense going on? And it's time now. It's just time to have a change. And it breaks my heart to say it, but there's no cohesion on the pitch with us. There's no, you know, this business of 5-1 at Bayern, you know, it's happened so many times in recent years where we've been humped at United, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, you know, Chelsea.
I think the players these days I think the players are desperate for some guidance. I genuinely think your Jack Wilsheres, your Aaron Ramseys, your Mesut Ozils, you know, Theo Walcott's, those types of players would love sort of an Allegri type figure to come in and say, okay, boys, let me teach you a thing or two about this game of football. You know, I want you to do this. I want you to do this. And I want you to do that. And I think that they would, I think there is a little bit of a myth as well when it comes to young people these days about how they're, you know, they're lazy and they're self-entitled and they want everything easy and they never want to get told off. I think that the days of the hairdryer treatment and yelling and screaming at players is definitely over, and I don't think that works. But Eden Hazard looked so happy to have Conte there, giving the team guidance, giving them direction. They knew what they needed to do. They had the trust in the player next to them, and you knew that your defensive midfielder had your back if you had to go and do something for the team. And I just don't think the players have any fucking idea what they're supposed to be doing when they step out onto the pitch, other than, well, we're all pretty good players individually, and let's just hope that our, joy of football and we express ourselves and we play with passion and freedom, and that will be enough. It's not anymore.
No.
Because even shitty teams are fit enough and strong enough to be structurally or defensively structured to the point that it gives us a lot of trouble.
Let's be honest, there's a massive difference, okay? Having Gilberto Silva, Patrick Vieira, or Patrick Vieira, Emmanuel Petit, than Santi and Coughlin, or Ramsey and Xhaka.
Okay, scared people.
No, yeah, but more to the point, they took responsibility. And I just
wouldn't cower every time a ball went near them. They wouldn't jump out of the way of free kicks.
You're being harsh there now. Yes, they did.
No, they never did.
Bollocks.
I used to stand there and fucking take it in the balls.
It's a natural reaction, okay? I put my face in front of the ball before now. I wouldn't fucking do it again. Fuck that.
And if I offered you $100,000 a week, would you do it?
Yeah, of course I would.
The difference is, if one of them made a mistake, the other one would have fucking told him about it. That's the difference.
Yeah.
No one... We conceded a goal. I still cannot believe that goal that Lewandowski scored. You're 1-1 up. Someone tweeted, and it was a big account. I can't remember who it was, but they weren't an Arsenal fan. But they're definitely not like a Piers Morgan type character that's looking for an excuse to get stuck in either. But they just tweeted something like, "You're 1-1 up away from home, and you come out in the second half and defend like that?" ? He goes, "Arsene Wenger is tactically inept in Europe," and I can't argue with that.
Do you remember the days of being? You remember the days of defending it? Yeah, because
isn't having only 25% of possession defending it?
No.
Defending
the opinion.
Yeah, no, defending Arsene Wenger in this thing.
I remember people doing that when I have been off of Wenger for fucking almost 3 years now, Jace.
Yeah, but bear with me.
No, everybody's been against us.
Hold up, no. This because some of the shit I've heard from people, okay, is a fucking disgrace, Jace. Let's get something fucking straight here, okay?
Well, that goes back more to the person. No. That goes back more to the person than the opinion.
That's fair enough.
That's
okay?
the person.
But what I'm saying is, okay, is that at the point, where, and Dom mentioned on the pod, we were talking about it last night, at the point where in a summer transfer window, you deem it right only to bring a keeper in, okay? At that point, then all other excuses are gone.
I remember, Jace, you saying that in that transfer window. You said, look, I'll give it, I don't want to speak too soon. I'll give it to the end of the year, etc. Because he might make me look stupid and we might win the league. And you know what? We had a really good run that season, but guess what happened? Coughlin and Cazorla got injured, and we relied on Arteta, who then got injured, and we were fucked. So we all saw what was going to happen. However, but he would, but if we didn't get those injuries, we would have won the league. Well, fuck, you're going to get injuries, aren't you? Yeah. But you're right. I remember Jace saying, that was the first time I heard Jace kind of say, you know what? If we don't win the league, he's made his bed. You cannot defend that. You cannot defend bringing in just a keeper and not going on to challenge for the league and still keep your job.
And it's as simple as that. I mean, whether you want Arsene Wenger or whether you want Arsene Wenger, I don't care. You know what I mean? You would do your opinion, Jace. Dom's do his opinion. Danny's do his, and Dave Faber's do his. Okay, we can all have a simple conversation, but the problem you've got is because the likes of AFTV and the DT cunts and those scum.
Don't compare.
No.
It's unfair to compare people with them.
Jace, I'm not comparing you with them. Okay.
No, not me, but people, because they're not people. They're not. They're characters on a fucking. They're characters on a YouTube channel.
Yeah, but
they're not people
in the pool. Okay, the Piers Morgans of this world, they poison the pool. They're the guys. Okay, you know, you take a girlfriend, you just build the pool. You know, you take a girl. You know, well, let's go for a swim, but they piss in the pool first because they can.
That's genius.